podcast, the highlight of Friday nights. Hope everyone's enjoying a fantastic, wonderful Friday. I am your host, Sports PSP. We're just waiting on BRF Sports real quick in a second. He's got to handle some business, but he's more than welcome to be on the Sports PSP pod. And of course, we cannot do the Sports PSP podcast without my main man, all the way down from Columbus, Georgia. He is the five-time college degree champion and counting. He is the young Al Roker. He's the Al Roker of journalism. He is the young Charles Barkley. He's the young Mark Henry. He's the young Shaquille O'Neal. He's brilliant, insightful. He is D's hilarious friend. He is Mama Champ's number one favorite son. He is Ace's best sibling. There's a reason why his father called him champ for a reason. The one and only, the big fella, undisputed world champ. How you doing, big fella?
I'm good, man. Happy Valentine's Day, ladies. You know, hope you got those. It's Valentine's Day weekend. Look, guys, look. If you're wise, remember Monday is President's Day. Turn it to Valentine's Day weekend, man. You know what I'm saying? Monday, you're off already. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Y'all know what it is. But man, it's always good to be on none other than the highlight of Friday nights. And if you're listening out there, man, what better way to start your weekend off than with some good sports podcasts with guys like the New Jersey Genius hosting, guys like myself, and even the great BRF who is on his way soon to talk about some sports, to recap a lot of great things that is going on in the sports world. Because look, who wants the same old hot takes every single day, man? We're gonna bring you something fresh every single week, and that's exactly what the New Jersey Genius does every single week. So Friday night is podcast night. So happy Valentine's Day, happy Friday the 13th. Don't go in no woods. Don't you know? Don't do none of that. Don't be fishing. Don't be doing none of that. So it's Friday the 13th. Don't be doing none of that. So just be
Well, the
wise.
last thing we need, the last thing we need is breakups, especially what happened with Stephon Diggs and Cardi B. But that's a story for another day. I'm sorry. One thing about PSP is unapologetic about he is petty. I mean, I am petty as hell. And of course, shout out to this wonderful, beautiful sister right here, the great Nessa. Yes,
Happy
love
Valentine's Day,
ourselves
Ness.
some Nessa. Absolutely. And also the big fella, the great D, wishes you love as well. And she's still laughing at that introduction that I mentioned about you and that past.
Yeah, that was real funny. Shout out to D man. Enjoy yourself. I hope you got the flowers, cards, and candy for Valentine's Day as well. So yeah, gotta pay the respects to the ladies that help us, man. But man, it's good to be here, man. Uh hey man, look, guys, to PSP point, man, y'all better take that Cardi B, Stephon Diggs situation as a cautionary tale. You better stop going out there trying to get your lick back because this world got a trick for you. And it ain't talking about magic. So be cautious.
hmm Big fella, before we talk about the Super Bowl, breaking news: Chris Paul, he was released, I believe, by the Toronto Raptors, and now he announced his retirement after 21 years in the NBA. This is a statement that Chris Paul just posted on his social media. This is it. After over 21 years, I'm stepping away from basketball. As I write this, it's hard to really know what to feel. But for once, most people would be surprised. I don't have the answer, lol. But mostly, I'm filled with so much joy and gratitude. While this chapter of being an NBA player is done, the game of basketball will forever be ingrained in the DNA of my life. I've been in the NBA for more than half of my life, spanning 3 decades. It's crazy even saying that. Playing basketball for a living has been an unbelievable blessing that also came with lots of responsibility. I embraced it all, the good and the bad. As a lifelong learner, leadership is hard and is not for the weak. Some will like you, and many people won't. But the goal was always the goal, and my intentions were always sincere. Damn, I love competing. It feels really good knowing that I played and treated this game with the utmost respect since the day my dad introduced to me to it. It was the very first relationship I ever knew. Basketball gave me a reason to wake up at 5 a.m. and work out before school. It gave me a reason to find a way to get to the YMCA on snow days, even when the roads were icy. It gave me a reason to be the little brother always trying to beat his big brother. It gave me a reason to earn good grades so I could have a chance to play in college. It gave me a reason to score 61 points in a game, even though my grandfather had just been killed. It gave me a reason to show up in rehab day after day after the meniscus tear, the Jones fracture, the separated shoulder, and the 5 hand surgeries. The game always gave me a reason to show up. And the true leaders and fighters know that right there. Showing up is half of the battle. So now, with all the gratitude that I could possibly have, it's time for me to show up for others and in other ways. This last season, I knew I couldn't do it unless I was at home with my family. Those 6 years away were a lot of sacrifice for all of us, and I knew that it had to come to an end. And I know wholeheartedly that the best teammate I can be is to Jada, Chris Paul II, and Cam, referring to his wife and his 2 children. I'm so excited to take with me to the next chapter of all the incredible things basketball has taught me, and more importantly, and that the people I've been blessed to meet through basketball have taught me. To all the teammates, coaches, staff, executives, and most of all, family, I can't begin to thank you enough. But the good news is, I'll know have much more time to start. And biggest thanks of all goes to the man upstairs. If you know this and are reading, feel free to finish. God is good all the time and all the time. That was Chris Paul's comments regarding his retirement. Look, big fella, am I shocked that Chris Paul decided to retire? I think no. I mean, remember there was the reports with him in Los Angeles, him became becoming difficult and frustrating. There was also the report about that Halloween party in which very few people didn't even show up. You remember? I mean, Chris.
I'm
Uh,
sorry.
but I mean, am I lying? Am I
No,
lying?
you ain't lying, but damn, it's kind of hard when you invite everybody, don't nobody show up. You the lone ranger in this situation, but
But Chris
hey,
Paul, when I look at it, the proof is in the pudding. And shout out to Dwayne. But when I look at Chris Paul, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. At the point guard position, he's no doubt one of the top 5, one of the top 10 greatest point guards in NBA history, one of the most versatile point guards in NBA history. I mean, despite being 6 feet tall, 175, he can shoot the mid range game. He plays defense. He leads. Anytime, whenever Chris Paul is on the team, you're going to get better. The Hornets, he helped that franchise get to the conference semis. The Clippers, they became Lob City for a reason when he joined both Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. Now, even though they had some chances, I felt like they should have made to at least a couple of Western Conference Finals appearances. 2014, when they were tied 2-2 against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and especially the year after that against the Houston Rockets when they had a 3-1 lead. Of course, you look at Houston, him and James Harden. You know, James Harden, ball dominant. James Harden taking less responsibility off the ball. CP3 coming in as well. Had CP3 finished the series in the Western Conference Finals, who knows? The Rockets would have made the finals because CP3 was playing well. Unfortunately, that hamstring injury. Then he goes to Oklahoma City in 2019, made the Thunder very competitive. You know, they made the playoffs in 2019. And they made it to, and it had it not been for just one game, they would have made it to the Western Conference semifinals.
hmm
So when I look at Chris Paul, and of course, we look at Phoenix, what he did for that team, taking them to the NBA Finals the first year. I mean, Chris Paul's body of work speaks for itself. The only thing I think it's because of the internet connection. I apologize. But when you look
that's
at
all
Chris
right.
Paul, his body of work speaks for itself. He is a Hall of Famer. Whether anyone wants to admit it or not, he is in the Naismith Hall of Fame. So, what are your thoughts, big fella?
Hey, first ballot Hall of Famer, man. First ballot, man. Look, I know people are going to harp on the fact that he didn't win a championship, but everywhere he went, he changed cultures. He changed the culture in New Orleans. He changed the culture in LA, the Clippers. He changed the culture at Houston. He changed the culture in Phoenix, got them to a finals. But I mean, before, the Oklahoma City knew how to win and they are where they are today. Chris Paul, when that group was ascending, played a big role in helping that group learn how to win. And he was magnificent, man. He was good on both sides of the ball. Usually, guys, usually these days you don't see guys who are great on both sides of the ball. Chris Paul was great on both sides of the ball, and I think the biggest, most best memory of him for me will be that 2008 Redeem team. It has to be that 2008 Redeem team. Him, Kobe, LeBron, just to name a few. So when you think about a magnificent career, although he didn't win a championship, you think about a culture changer. When you think about a culture changer in football, the first name that you think about is Marty Schottenheimer. Although he didn't win a championship, you think about how he went into situations like even in Washington that one year, and they hadn't made the playoffs, and I don't know how long, and he took them and had an 8-8 record before, unfortunately, you guys, the previous owner, ousted him. You think about what he did at the Chargers, you think about what he did at the Chiefs, the Browns. He was able to change cultures. That is what Chris Paul did as a player at every team that he was at. And I remember and I'll never forget, Byron Scott, a Laker great, stated that he was one of the most easiest players that he ever coached. He was very, very easy to coach. And you didn't have to worry about him taking time off. You didn't have to worry about all of the disruptions. He came to compete every single night. Um, First ballot. And it's funny you should bring up that 61-point game. He actually missed the last shot on purpose because 61 was the age that his grandfather was. He actually missed the last shot on purpose so he can land directly on 61 to pay homage to his grandfather. Oh man, that was great, man. Hey, Wake Forest. Not only did you have the best power forward in league history, you had one of the best. The term point guard, Chris Paul. That's how it originated.
One of the most versatile point guards in the game.
Yes.
Uh,
One
uh
of
I'm sorry, Chad. While I was giving my speech, was I lagging a little bit? Because it seemed like it was though, because I was having some internet issues.
a little bit, but not too much.
All right, but anyway, what I was trying to say is with Chris Paul, you look at the body of work; it speaks for itself. He is a no doubt Hall of Famer. Um, were there times difficult for him to deal with? Yeah, that was true. He wasn't always that great of a teammate, but at the same time, when you look at Chris Paul, intelligent, knows basketball. I believe Chris Paul will be fine life after basketball. I mean, he's definitely going to spend more time and I'm happy for him, more time being a great husband and a father, which he certainly is. I still love the Cliff Paul commercials from State Farm. So I love that about CP3 and just a student of the game. Look what he's done for a lot of young players. I mean, look at him being a mentor for Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
Look how he did when he helped out Shea Gilgis Alexander when he joined Oklahoma City. Still to this day, one of the craziest trades by trading him. And because remember, he was in the Clippers organization and they trade him to OKC in exchange for Paul George.
yeah,
But when I look at Chris Paul, man, anytime when you're on a team and when he's there, he's going to make them better.
yeah.
You saw that with New Orleans. You saw that with the Clippers. You saw that with Houston. You saw that in Oklahoma City. One of the shocking things, champ, and I'm surprised you didn't even mention this. I think you probably have because at the time I was lagging. Imagine how great it would have been if CP3 were in the purple and gold.
I always imagine how that would be, but one cannot see across the around the corner. One cannot see around the corner, man. It's easy to say it would have been championship after championship after championship, but I mean, I would have loved to have seen it, yeah, but one cannot see around the corner. I think that would have been blockbuster. For you to get a younger star to come in and get to replace Kobe, and after you knew it was, slowly but surely was going to be over. You knew it was going to be over, and I can't help but think that would have been a championship. Because knowing the Lakers back then, they would have built something around CP3. And I think that would have attracted more free agents had we got CP3. You would have had you would have had one of the best backcourts in the NBA, that being him and Kobe. And I think it would have been, a chance for Kobe to kind of go over a little bit more. I think if he would have got Chris Paul, I think it would have been about maybe one or two more championships would have been added to that repertoire. And I think, he'd be more in GOAT conversations, because at the end of the day, people can try to move the goalpost all they want to. It matters. Your legacy matters when it comes to the jury. Your legacy matters when it comes to the jury. And a lot of players are not held in high regard because of that. Look at one of the guys we just talked about last week from Utah, on that Utah Jazz team, him and John Stockton. So the jury matters. So you can't help but to think how much that would have been. And look, you gotta ask yourself this. You gotta ask yourself this. Would we have finally saw a LeBron versus Kobe finals? Would we have finally have saw it? Would it have been the Miami Heat versus the LA Lakers? And would it have been one of the most glamorous finals, like probably ever since Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson? When you really think about this generation, there was never really a passing of the torch type of finals. We saw it with Dr. J and Magic Johnson. We saw it with, you know, we saw it with Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. We didn't really see that this generation. We didn't really see that true passing of the torch to one megastar to another. Unfortunately we didn't see that. We got to see it all last generation, but we didn't get to see it this generation, and it's unfortunate. Like we even in the previous generation, we got to see the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We got to see him go at it with Will Chamberlain. We got to see him win championships on his watch. True passing of the torch type of things. But we never got a chance in this generation, I will say the past 25 years, in order to see a true passing of the torch type of finals that, I'm pretty sure that would have loved to see. No matter which way it went, no matter if LeBron would have proved that he's the new sheriff in town, or if Kobe, the late great one, would have proved that the mama mentality overcomes everything and brought the Lakers more glory. And I think it would have been superb, but one can't see around the corner. And you have to wonder, because we would have had to trade a lot of those great players from those championship teams. People don't acknowledge this, but had that trade happened, we were going to lose Pau Gasol. We were going to lose Lamar Odom. Those were two key players from those back-to-back finals titles.
But you did lose Lamar Odom, champ. You did trade him to Dallas.
Yeah, we
And
ended up trading him to
unfortunately,
Dallas.
and unfortunately for Lamar Odom, that became the downfall for him because with a lot of problems.
Yeah,
But you would have had traded up Pau Gasol though.
but we would
So,
have lost Powell. We would have lost Lamar Odom, two very key members of that. Now we would have still had Meta World Peace, and it just would have been a situation to see if Andrew Bottom's body would have held up. During that time, it would have been a question of it. I don't think it would have, but yeah, we would have lost a lot of those great players. So it would have just been those building blocks with him and Kobe. But I think it would have been a marvelous thing, because I think that it would have attracted a lot of free agency. I think it would have. I think that Dwight Howard would have been a little bit more comfortable playing with a Chris Paul and Kobe versus a Kobe. And because Kobe was at his peak, but he was on. Everybody knew it wasn't going to last forever. As you saw, a few years later, he retired. So it would have been interesting to see if they would have attracted a Carmelo. Would have been interesting to see if they would have attracted a Dwight Howard. You know, guys like that. Would have been interesting to see because once that trade didn't go, then you saw that team just boom, boom, boom. They was going, going, going. But CP3 epitomized winning, regardless if he won a ring or not. He changed cultures. Like I stated, he's the Marty Schottenheimer of basketball, except he's a player, and the late great Marty Schottenheimer is a coach. And you got to ask yourself this. I don't think that's the biggest what if question. I think the biggest what if question is what if the whole Donald Sterling debacle doesn't happen? You got to ask yourself that because I believe, although they was competitive for even years after that, I think that that held a cloud over that organization. I think that that put a tremendous cloud even after the team was sold. I don't ever think they kind of shook that. And I think that was very, very hard for them to overcome, not just as a team, but as a franchise.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, champ. Maybe probably not during the year when they beat Golden State in the first round and losing to OKC in six, but there is something that has to be said the following year when you
Yeah.
blew a 3-1 lead to Houston. And remember, game six at the Staples Center now, at the time, remember, they had like a 17, 19-point lead. And James Harden, who was the runner up for league MVP, he was sitting on the bench. Kevin McHale put James Harden on the bench. He took other role players from the Houston Rockets, Corey Brewer, Josh Smith, Dwight Howard was rebounding the basketball in order for Houston to come back from a 17, 19-point lead and for them to win, push it to a game seven, and then to win that series. I think that was even more devastating for them. So you could say Donald Sterling, but they still had the chance the year after because that was enough time for them to regroup, to focus on the team, rebrand the team. But when I look at Chris Paul and his career, I mean, just looking at 12-time NBA All Star, 4-time All NBA first team, 5-time All NBA second team, second time All NBA third team. He's 7-time NBA All Defensive first team. You look at it, he's won gold medals. He was with that 2008 and 2012 team. The no doubt about it, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer at the point guard at the point guard position. One of the greatest point guards to have ever played the game. He's one of the greatest players to have never captured a championship. Um, BRF, shout out to the great Mr. Atlanta BRF Sports in the building. How you doing, fella? We just having a conversation about Chris Paul, the Toronto Raptors. One of the teams that Chris Paul was with, they decided to release him. Chris Paul decided to announce his retirement after 21 years in the NBA. What were your thoughts?
I wasn't surprised that he did go ahead and announce his retirement. I mean, you kind of look at it from the standpoint of like, where would he have gone at this point? I mean, it's kind of one of those where he's like, I don't know, like his like the mentality that he brings, although it normally contributes to winning cultures. I mean, it's like where could he have gone that he could have truly like really kind of added something, added some measure of value to like the team. I mean, you see what he did really like his last like real, you know, his last real stint as far as like playing good ball. What he did with San Antonio as far as like playing with Wiminyama and Stephon Castle and those boys as far as like kind of being a mentor to them and kind of like really kind of letting them see what real NBA what real NBA ball is like, coming up and really kind of learning and practicing every day and kind of you know being there for them to pick his brain as far as like different aspects of the game and everything. So you could see that he could still kind of do it, but honestly, it was like a guy like him still bouncing from team to team. It kind of felt like it was a matter of time, and then when that trade was announced, and it got announced that Toronto was waiving him, it's like, hey, it's kind of like it's almost like the writing was on the wall at that point. And I feel like he you don't want to see, you don't want to say, oh, he should have done it, but it's almost like, yeah, it was kind of poetic and it was kind of like the right thing for him to do. Um, Definitely one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game. He's definitely in top 5 consideration, top 5 talks. He's got to be, even without a championship. You look at the contributions. You look at all the teams that he's changed. Like you look you look at what he did with those. You kind of look at what he did with like those early New Orleans teams. You look at you look at what he did with those Clippers teams. Definitely those Clipper teams. Honestly, to answer a question, I felt like those Clippers were still like one big piece away. And for me, when you look at how those Clippers teams were assembled, they didn't have that true like kind of dominant, wing, that 3 and D guy that could really like if Blake Griffin was scoring, if Chris Paul wasn't scoring, like having a guy that could really control the wing, as far as like 3 point line, mid range. Like, granted, you had Jamal Crawford coming off the bench, but even still, he's on the bench. You still needed. I feel like you still needed like one more guy that could give you good scoring, but could also like stop more often than not your best offensive player, whether he's your 2 or your 3. And I still feel like the Clippers really kind of lack that, which is why I still felt like they might. I don't think they really would have gotten over the top without a guy like that, even though they were really, really good for a long time. I mean, no, I mean, Lob City is one of the most fun teams we've seen in this league over the past, 20 to 25 years. Like the transition, the alley oops, the offense. I mean, I felt that team was like a guaranteed 115, 120, 125 points like any given night because not only could they score from inside, you got guys like Blake Griffin, you got guys like DeAndre Jordan. You still had guys like Chris Paul who could shoot from outside. You had guys like Jamal Crawford coming off the bench, but still, Jamal Crawford is one of the greatest 6 men, if not the greatest 6 man we've seen in the league. So they could score. I just felt like they still needed that 3 and D. But even still, they were contending and they were winning. They were right. They were in the mix as far as like the Western Conference Championship.
Let's not
You look
forget
at
Houston, especially
oh
that first
man,
year when they made it to the Western Conference Finals. And had it not been
exactly.
for that hamstring injury,
I
because
stand. Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I stand by. When you look at how that series was going between Houston and Golden State, that Western Conference Finals, I mean, you could kind of see like Houston really had their number, and it was like it. Honestly, though, it wasn't. I believe that was a series. It wasn't just the Chris Paul hamstring. They still had a shot to win that game. They couldn't hit a 3 point shot to save their life in Game 7. But yeah, I think
But losing CP3 definitely did
yeah,
hurt though.
I honestly yeah, because I feel like even if you're not missing those shots, you still feel like a guy like Chris Paul, as good as a playmaker as he was, as good as he was as far as like being able to get his guys in position, in the right place. I mean, you still kind of feel like maybe they could have pulled that off, and it was just one of those like devastating things. Like, what if? Like, are we talking about the Golden State dynasty in even a different light? Had they not won that Western Conference Finals, we could be talking about them in an even different light because that's one less ring.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like that. That's probably one of the more. It could have definitely altered history in terms of how we look at that Houston Rockets team with James Harden at the front. We look at that team a whole lot different. We look at, I mean, James Harden with a championship. He's a he's a bona fide. I don't. I mean, I feel like he's a Hall of Famer anyway, but he's bona fide. He's locked. He's solidified with it. I feel like with a championship, even though I do think ultimately James Harden is going to get in. But we look at him, and even we look at him in a different light if they win that championship and beating those Warriors at that with Steph and Katie and Clay, beating and Draymond, beating those Warriors. So we definitely look at those Rockets in a completely different light. And then that young OKC team that he joined and took to the playoffs. I think that's one of the
Yeah,
better
and that was
ones
the
we've
year
seen.
when
At
they had Shea Gilgis Alexander. They also had Lorenzo Dort. It took seven games in order for the Houston Rockets for them to advance to the conference semifinals before they ended up losing to champs Lakers, of course,
Mhm.
in the bubble.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yes, those that OKC team was just the start as far as like what we're seeing with Shea now, as far as like his growth and where he is now. But having a guy like Chris Paul only does wonders as far as like your mental, your mindset, like just your approach to playing day in and day out, how you approach practice, how you approach just the studying, the film, just everything. Having a guy like Chris Paul, and you see it every day with SGA. I mean, he's like one of you could make a case he's a top 5 player in the league. You could make a case. I mean, that just comes from not only the coaching, but that just comes from just having the right guys around you and just being able to really learn and develop your game and become a better player at that. So Chris Paul is definitely going to be remembered as a guy, although he did not win any championships, he's going to be remembered as a guy who really was at the forefront from a lot for a lot of teams, from like being like mediocre to mid to, you know, making playoffs and giving these teams runs and winning playoff series and contending for conference titles. That glaring omission of just him not having a ring is probably one of those things that is gonna really stick out about him. But is he still a bona fide lock for the Hall of Fame? Absolutely, because you brought up his international success with the drink with the Olympic team. So that, because I mean it's not the NBA Hall of Fame, it's the
It's the
Naismith
Naismith Hall of
basketball.
Fame. They
It's
take
the
everything
yeah,
into
they
consideration.
take everything.
So the bottom line is, look, Carmelo Anthony, he's in the Hall of Fame, and Chris Paul is in the Hall of Fame. And we would argue, and there's no doubt, Chris Paul at his position was better than Melo at his. No disrespect to Melo, but that's just the truth.
Yeah.
And when
I
I look
agree.
at Chris Paul, he although he has a championship, Chris Paul reminds me in some ways, in terms of the play, in terms of making situations better, Drew Brees. Like Drew Brees. He's not the biggest dude in the world. He's like 6 feet, $175, but boy, he's smart. He knows how to pass the basketball, and he's got handles. And he got handles. And anytime, whenever you're on a team and when you have CP3, he just puts you in a better situation. And he also did that with Phoenix the first year when they made it to the Western Conference, made it to the NBA Finals. I mean, unfortunately for them, they had to deal with Giannis. I mean, DeAndre Ayton was no match for Giannis Antetokounmpo.
That was a
I mean,
buzzsaw. They ran into a buzzsaw.
They-
Giannis was the buzzsaw that year. I mean, just
yes,
it is
and
what it
then of
is.
course, shout out to Chris Middleton as well, who also stepped up in the finals. Also, Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis Jr. So there were a lot of other players on the Milwaukee Bucks roster who stepped up. But when I look at Chris Paul, man, there's no doubt about a Hall of Famer. And as far as basketball is concerned, he's still going to be a part of basketball. I
Yeah.
do see him doing podcasts. I do see him commenting on basketball, and we know what he does for HBCUs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So his impact on basketball and more to that speaks for itself. But I think he had to retire because at this point right now, no teams want use for him. Remember BRF? I mean, the report with him being a difficult situation for the Los Angeles Clippers. Remember the Halloween party in which he invited the teammates and very few teammates
Mhm.
didn't show up. And I think with Toronto, and I thought it was great because Toronto at that point, they were like 4th, 5th in the East. I mean, Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram Jr., okay, Chris Paul, here's your last chance. And for whatever reason, they decided to let him go. But at the end of the day, with Chris Paul, for him to have this type of career, 21 years in the NBA, to have this type of success, I mean, impressive. There's no doubt about it. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's not even the question.
Oh, indeed. Now, isn't it safe to say that that Golden State dynasty is a dynasty of what ifs? Like when you really, really think about it, because what if in that first year, LeBron is not the one carrying his team to the finals? Remember that first year. Remember Kelly Oubre, he snatched Kevin Love's arm out of the socket.
Well, not just that. Kyrie Irving also
Yeah,
got
I
hurt.
see it. Yeah, Kevin. Then Kyrie Irving, he got hurt because David Black decided he wanted to play him too much. Then the second year, straight up, then second year LeBron interfered with the dynasty. Then the third year, first year with KD, straight up they got him. But then that second year with KD, when they went back to back, it's a lot of what ifs. Remember, there was no Kyrie in the finals because he had been traded, right? Then on top of that, right? Kawhi gets hurt. Remember, he was banging them up.
In 2017 until Zaza Pachulia.
Exactly. He was out there. He was out there lynching them, and so the Kawhi injury happened. No more Spurs. Then you get to the finals. Chris Paul goes out. So there's a lot of what ifs in that dynasty, and it's so ironic that the dynasty began on injuries and ended on injuries. It's so ironic.
But you can also say what ifs for other things too, champ. What if Chris Paul had he not gotten hurt with that hamstring injury? Or in 2019, what if Kevin Durant had not had that strained calf injury and then later in the NBA Finals that ruptured Achilles?
Yeah.
Had the Warriors had won that finals, would KD probably have left Golden State?
No, probably
I
not.
think he still does.
Well, you could say that BRF because remember what Draymond reportedly said about KD, which I'm not going to use. But I think if you can look it up, you can probably see exactly what I'm referring to. He said something about KD, which KD didn't like particularly, and that was probably one of the reasons why he left Golden State. And KD, remember at that time, look, he wanted to prove he had to show, look, in order for you to win a championship as the number one man, number one option, you got to go elsewhere. Unfortunately for him, he went to the team that beat him, in which he had a 3-1 lead in the Western Conference Finals against Golden State, and then he blew. Now, Stephen A. Smith at the time, he ripped it. He called it the weakest move ever by a superstar. Max Kellerman at the time didn't have a problem with it because he talked about how Golden State, how they play the right type of basketball. The person taking the shot is the open man, even though he acknowledged that Oklahoma City with him, Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams, Serge Ibaka, um, Andre Robeson, despite his shooting deficiencies, how he's athletic, how he plays defense, they were talented, but at the same time, Golden State ensuring putting Kevin Durant in the best type of situation to win a championship, and KD not relying to do so much when he can just also rely on Steph, also rely on Clay, also rely on Andre Iguodala, other pieces as well. But I think there's going to be a lot. There's always what ifs, champ. There's always going to be what ifs.
I think with dynasties, period, in general, like I feel like for me, like I've seen this a lot, and I think it's true. The success of a dynasty is consistency plus luck. It's preparation and luck is what it is. Like it's like it's preparation, it's being consistent, and there's always going to be some luck. Like
Yeah.
to win multiple championships in a short time frame, everything is like something's gonna fall in your favor that wasn't originally there at the beginning. So
Yeah.
that's there's always going to be what else in dynasties because something has to luck up in your favor in order to like repeat or pull like a 3 out of 4 or something like that. Something's going to go lucky in your favor, and I think that's in a certain case the beauty of dynasties. Just right place, right time.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
to your point, real quick, to your point, that 96 Bulls team, when they faced the Orlando Magic, remember Horace Grant got hurt.
Yes.
People don't understand that. That was he was a big part of their pressure defense, and he was a Doberman right behind Shaq. So, if they would have imagined if he would have played and he would have been able to go at Dennis Rodman the way he could have, and he would have been able to keep him off Shaq, you know. So to your point, yeah, that was that's not to say they would have beat the Bulls because I believe that they were at their optimal during that time.
No, I
But
think no. Chicago
but
would have beaten them regardless
they
because
would
I
have given him
think
a chance.
Jordan was in better condition than when he faced them in the '95 season. Jordan was just coming back from baseball, and Jordan having a whole lot of offseason. And besides, it hit him personally when Horace went to Orlando and when they beat him the first time. And he said, and Dennis Rodman plays an integral role. They needed physicality, and they knew they needed to bring in Rodman because regardless of what you want to say about Dennis Rodman, hair, dresses, style, Jordan even said himself, you can't find somebody on that basketball court that gives as much effort than Dennis Rodman,
Yeah.
whether defense, rebounding, and look at the defense he played on Shaq. So, and again, go back to that '96 final, West Eastern Conference Finals when Dennis Rodman was going up against Shaq,
Yeah.
and we've seen that before. I haven't seen anybody with that type of size going up against Shaq since Ben Wallace against Shaq in the '04 finals, even though Shaq at that time was a lot bigger. But still,
Yeah.
Shaq was giving you some good numbers.
Yeah.
But fellas, let's continue on with the NBA. What are your thoughts about the All-Star weekend regarding the three-point shooting contest and the dunk contest? I'm not really entertained with the dunk contest at all. Unfortunately, Mac McClung, I don't believe Matt McClung is going to be participating in the dunk contest. But when I look at the three-point contest, Damian Lillard's going to be involved. And look, there's going to be a Concanupo. I mean, if you look at it, it's Concanupo, Devin Booker, Damian Lillard, Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, okay, Bobby Portis Jr., and also Norman Powell. I'm going to be entertained with the three-point shooting contest. Unfortunately for Team USA versus Team World, Giannis won't be there because of the calf strain. DeAndre Fox will step in for him. But I can't wait for this three-point shooting contest, man. I think it's going to be great. And by the way, for the NBA, could you please bring back the Sabrina Ayuso rematch with her and Steph Curry? I would love to see that again. I'm. It may never happen, champ, but I would love to see that because that was a heck of a moment that time during All Star Weekend. I was entertained by watching that, champ.
Yeah. I'm gonna just be real, man. All Star Weekend used to be a happening, not just uh
It was cool back in them days because
play.
when you wore them throwback jerseys and when you
Yeah.
saw all them dunk contests like Josh Smith back in '05, Nate Robinson, Jason Richardson. But again, champ, it echoes to what you've been saying about the NFL over the NBA.
Yeah. And the thing is, man, you gotta ask yourself this. And the thing is, we're not asking the NBA players to go out there and put their careers on the line. One of the things we're asking you to do is go out there and do what Magic and those guys did. Go out there and have the best pickup game you could possibly have. We want to see how you gonna pick. I mean, I loved when Kobe blocked LeBron shot in the All Star game. I loved it when Magic came back and was picking up Isaiah Thomas. I loved it when, even though the Bad Boy Pistons Part Two with the Wallace brothers, although they just beat the hell out of us in the finals the year before, they went out there and had their whole entire starting five out there on the floor for All Star Weekend and shut everybody down. That's what you pay in order to see. You pay it to see being happening. I'm not excited about the 3-point contest. Yeah, a little bit. But the thing is, I want to see the All Star game as a whole be more competitive. I don't think it has anything. I think Adam Silver is doing the best that he can as a commissioner to not throw guys under the bus to kind of appease the players. But at the end of the day, you got to remember you're the boss.
Would this be happening with or David Stern?
Yeah, wouldn't be this won't be happening up on a David Stern. You have you know I don't know people have noticed this. Have you noticed the fallout from the All Star game since David Stern was not the commissioner and since Adam Silver took over?
Not a
Have,
surprise at all, champ, because David Stern, he was more tough. He was more bad cop with the players back then. Adam Silver, it seems like, and I'm sorry, and I like Adam Silver, but he seems more lenient. He seems more friendly with these players. And look, David Stern, there were some things I didn't agree with. I certainly didn't agree with the dress code at the time, and I still stand by it. But when it comes to a responsibility, giving their fans their hard-earned money, this wouldn't have been an issue if it were for David Stern. Adam Silver at some point, and plus load management, that's been another issue when it comes to the fans because again, they pay their hard-earned money to watch certain players play, and when they don't play, and it's not because of injury, legit injuries, it's because of resting, then it pisses off the fans. It tunes them off because wait a minute, I spend my hard-earned money. I should get what I paid for. I should get my money's worth, and unfortunately, I'm not. So I do think Adam Silver at some point in time is going to have to step in and tell these players, "Look, man, we got a responsibility. If y'all want to get the money, if y'all tired of the NFL and all these other leagues, NFL, MLB getting all this attention, then you're just gonna have to step in and do something. You're gonna have to make sacrifices. You're gonna have to do things that you don't necessarily want to do. And if you keep acting like, oh, we're too cool to play, then guess what? How you expect the brand to grow?
Exactly. The thing is, man, look, I'm gonna just be real. We all hate the mean teacher, but we love the order that he has in his class. I'll say that again. We all hate the mean teacher when he's teaching, but we love the order that he has in his class.
Exactly.
So the thing is, you have to be that disciplinarian. You're not these guys as friends. I understand you want the NBA to be more of a partnership, but sometimes you have to be a Roger Goodell and say, look, man, we ain't your friends. We business partners. And as a partner in this business, you need to step it up. None of this was going on up under David Stern. They knew there was when you. I'm gonna just be real. When you know there's consequences, you don't do certain shit. And I hate to put it that way, but when you know there's consequences, you don't do certain shit. Look,
You saw
when
that
you,
Isaiah Stewart when he was getting after it with Miles Bridges.
yeah,
What if David Stern
David
was still
Stern
the
would have
commissioner?
suspended him for the rest of the season. You would have been out of there.
He only got 7 games for that suspension.
Exactly. You would have been suspended for the entire season. That's the thing. Sometimes you need that firm hand. You need a firm hand. People might not like Roger Goodell. People might, James Harrison, he had this beef with him. Even the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, had beef with Roger Goodell. But guess what? That NFL, that shield, he make it be known. Nobody's bigger than this shield. This shield is going to be here long after all of us are gone. You're not going to jeopardize this brand. So, I mean, if you don't believe that, like I said, ask James Harrison, ask Vontez Burfict, ask any of those players. Those were minor infractions. Hell, look at what happened with Ezekiel Elliott. He got suspended for half the season. You
Six
need that,
games.
yeah, you need that firm hand that's gonna guide you. And I'm sorry, Adam Silver is just not that firm hand that I see can guide the NBA where it's gonna be the global juggernaut that it once was. Now to basketball. Now, if you really want me to be honest, as long as hip hop is around, as long as music is around, basketball is gonna have its own cult following.
And of
Because
course, fashion.
exactly, because even as a damn offensive lineman, I was envious of the damn point guard on the field. You know, the point guard was my best friend. So yeah, when he went out there, everybody saw his face and waving at the point guard. You know, meanwhile, I'm a lineman, get my ass whooped out on his field. But I digress. But you need that strong guiding hand in order to lead you. You may not like the rules, but the rules are here for a reason. And when you obey these rules, everybody can make money. See how much that salary increased under the tutelage of David Stern? See how much revenue everybody got? Everybody got paid. That whole situation with Donald Sterling, I think that would have got solved in less than a day if David Stern was the commissioner. It wouldn't have had to go on that long. But I think
But
people
it
don't
did.
want to
But
acknowledge.
champ though it did. It did happen because again, David Stern he knew he was aware of Donald Sterling with all the other issues that he had, but until social media, until that TMZ video found out with
Yeah,
the conversation with him and his girlfriend V Stiviano, that's when Adam Silver had enough of a reason just to let go of
yeah,
Donald Sterling because at that time, even though the NBA, David Stern, and everyone else knew about Donald Sterling's behavior, we, meaning much of the public, didn't know about it. But once we became aware of it, that's
yeah,
when, okay, you had to let him go.
exactly. But I really believe that Adam Silver, I think he has to have a conversation with a lot of these owners, and he has to have a conversation with the players. There's no way that you're so. It's no way that you're getting so desperate to the point where you're stealing ideas from other leagues. You're trying to invent tournaments in order to make sure teams aren't tanking. I mean, on purpose. I mean, taking out these star players every other game. there's no way that you should be having to host tournaments. I mean, now you have the commissioner, the NBA Cup trying to get viewers to come in. You have the play in to try to get viewers to come in, and then now you're having a tournament to determine the number one overall pick, which I don't have no problem with that because guess what? If you're gonna try to tank, then guess what? Play for it. Don't sit around here and play for it.
No,
Play
no,
for it. Don't sit around
I'm
here.
no, I'm shocked you mentioned that, champ, because there was a reporter that actually disagreed with. He said if you want to throw away tanking, take away the draft.
Well, you can't take away the draft. The thing is, you can't take away the draft. The draft has to happen.
No,
But
I
the
bel
thing,
no, I no, and I agree. And the reason why he said because he also felt that players should be entitled to decide where they should go.
no, that's
And I
never
feel
going to happen.
and I disagree with that because I feel like wait a minute, if you're gonna allow players to decide where they're gonna go, they're gonna go for the big markets. And what are you gonna say for the other smaller markets like the OKCs, the Indianas, the Utahs, and stuff like that? Now you can't just decide where you want to go.
No,
That's not how the way it processes. That's not how the way business is made. But that's why we have the draft, so that the players, the organizations can, so that the organizations can decide with these players going. I think with the NBA, to your point, champ, I don't have a problem with the play-in tournament because I think it's competitive and it's proven that it's exciting. But should they incorporate other tournaments just to make the NBA more exciting? No, they shouldn't. At some point, Adam Silver is just going to have a conversation with these owners and with these players, letting them know, look, if we want to make money and if we want the NBA to go back to what it was, because in the early 2000s and in the 2010s, champ, it was competing with the NFL.
exactly.
Nowadays, you don't see that. The NFL, even with football, the Super Bowl, we already finished the Super Bowl and we're more excited. We're more tuned in to the NFL draft. We're more tuned into the pro day. We're more
Senior
tuned
Bowl.
into the free agency. Of course, unfortunately for you and BRF, we're gonna at some point we're probably gonna talk about unfortunately the situation with James Pierce Jr. I mean, just go look it up. I don't want to read all the details, but just go look it up whenever you have a chance. We're talking about more NFL stuff. And again, baseball season. We all know how much BRF loves and covers his baseball. Baseball's
Yeah.
about to be coming up next month. And don't be surprised if baseball, them basketball ratings. So with Adam Silver, he's going to have a serious conversation with these players. The players have gotten too complacent. They don't feel like it's that much of a responsibility. And it also sucks for the other players
Yeah.
who don't have the attention or the name brand or the cachet. Because if we're going to pay more attention to the players that don't have the recognition or the consideration, then these players, the name, the brand players, they're just going to have to step in and make more of a sacrifice.
Yeah. It's sad that the Four Nations tournament from the NHL had to influence the NBA All Star game when that used to be. Look, man, I remember when the NBA All Star weekend was a happening. Everybody was going to get the remember the jacket with all the NBA teams on there. There was the NBA All Star jacket. There was you knew who was going to be the guest on there. I mean, it was covered. I mean, I know the Super Bowl just left, but immediately after the Super Bowl was gone, it was covered. Like
You had All Star Weekend. I remember
it was All Star damn near a week. I mean, from Friday to Monday to all the way to the Sunday when you played the games. That's how great it was covered. You had the jackets. You had guys doing interviews. You
You had
had,
the celebrities also
yeah,
attending also
you
the
had
games,
that.
but nowadays it just seems like the All Star game is just like an afterthought. And it's a damn shame because you are looking forward to seeing the best going up against the best. You want to see the dunk contest back then when you had great dunkers such as Nate Robinson or Dwight Howard or Aaron Gordon. It's just not exciting anymore. Could it be because of the emphasis of 3-point shooting as well? Maybe perhaps so. Because again, no, I think so. I think so, champ. Because it's encouraging other people who can't shoot to shoot. But at the same time, champ, I think for the NBA and for Adam Silver, you have to stop being so friendly with these players. You have to stop giving these players like so much grace. You're just gonna have to have conversations with them and tell them what do we want to do? What are we trying to accomplish? I mean, do we want to go back to our glory days of competing right with the NFL, or we're just comfortable with just being just good?
Exactly. Because at certain points, people are going to get
And
tired of
besides,
giving you
and
hardcore
besides
money.
to make, I'm sorry, Chip, and besides to make basketball even more embarrassing, I'm sorry, I don't like really bringing up this brother, but Kendrick Perkins with his basketball takes. Are we really entertained listening to his basketball takes? I've said it before. It's kind of like somebody burning my breakfast. You know, I'm not gonna eat that for breakfast. I'm probably gonna throw that shit in the trash.
Yeah. Look,
And we all know the comment he said about L. Duncan, which probably one of the reasons why L. Duncan left
that's probably why
ESPN and
she
going on
left, man.
Netflix.
Unfortunate for her, but I don't know what to say about the NBA, man. Like I said, it used to be a happening. Now it's just now. I know you are big on your fashion bag, PSP, but I think it was Kith did a hell of a job on bringing back the old school All Star jerseys with the Trail Sprewell. I think they did a hell of a job.
Yes,
But
they did.
that's but the thing is, during the era where all three of us grew up in, that would have been advertised. It wouldn't just be a social media post. It would have been advertised. Guys, it would have been a commercial about it. There would have been guys coming out, the old school, the old heads coming out with they all-star jerseys on. We saw Julius Irvin get paid homage to quite a few times at an all-star game. So that's what you want. You want to pay homage to the old, the new. I remember you had the sophomores versus the rookies game. Uh, you
The
had a
taco.
whole bunch of things that you could really look forward to. I mean, although Shaq and Michael Jordan was both rivals in the East, you got a chance to see them play together. Then you start asking yourself, oh, we saw Shaq and Kobe play. What if Shaq and Jordan play? Those are the things that you want to put in your mind. It's just like, damn, can you imagine if they played for real together? You know what I'm saying? I mean, and I think another thing that a lost art, I don't think we got to realize this. The old school guys, what they used to do, and I think this is a lost art as well. The reason why the All-Star game was so great for them back then is all they did back then during the summer is play pickup ball with each other. That's all they did. All of them went to Rucker Park. They went to Magic Johnson's house. They went to Isaiah Thomas's house. All of those guys played pickup
Remember when
games with
Michael
each other.
Jordan, when he was doing the movie Space Jam, and
Yes, that's all they did was play pickup game the entire summer, and they was playing full-fledged basketball all summer. So we got to get. It's not just Adam Silver. You got to get back to the love of the game. And at one point, and you can't say it's the money because hell, Michael Jordan was making buku,
well,
and he
outside
still
of
was rolling.
outside during his time in Chicago, he really was making that much during his time in Chicago. I understand off the court money, champ,
Off the court, yeah,
but the last few years he was making 30 and then 33 million. During
yeah.
his time in Chicago, he wasn't making that much money. But champ, to your point, players don't take. It doesn't seem like do players really love basketball nowadays the way they used to love it back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s or thousands? Not
No,
so, because of load management, resting. It just seems like players are too complacent nowadays, not enough of a responsibility. I mean, it's a slap in the face for the fans, and I feel sorry for the fans who spend their hard-earned money because they should get their hard-earned money. They should see after what they paid for, and unfortunately, they didn't. So now, what are they gonna have to do? They're probably gonna have to go on and move to another sport or something else. And it's sad, but it's on Adam Silver because he is the commissioner. He is the successor to David Stern. It's on these players, is particularly to certain players, but and it's just this generation. And if you keep saying, "Well, hey, this is just how this generation is, and we just got to get used to it," you keep thinking like that. Guess is what it's going to be for future generations, and how business is going to be.
Mhm.
BRF, what are your thoughts about All Star Weekend? And is there anything you're looking forward to?
Um, I will say when I saw that 3 point contest, when I saw that lineup, it
That's
definitely
exciting.
caught it definitely caught my eye, particularly Damian Lillard, even though even though he's probably not going to play this season with that Achilles injury, still like for him even being involved in it is still like it puts eyes on the product from that sense. So seeing Dame, seeing Maxey, seeing Booker, Con Canoopel, in my opinion, who you can make a case has been the best 3-point shooter all year. Seeing him display what he's been able to do the first half of the season on a stage like All-Star Weekend, I mean, it's definitely something. It's definitely going to be something to see and definitely to be entertained by. So I definitely think the All-Star 3-point contest is probably going to be the more entertaining part of the weekend, unless they show up in the dunk contest. Honestly, I feel the dunk contest is just that. What is that? What else is there left to do? Everything's been done. It's
Netflix
really
and chill.
well. That's beside. Well, we ain't talking about that. But
What are we gonna do next? We're gonna go to OnlyFans and we're gonna
well,
watch
I mean,
OnlyFans.
I
That's what we're
mean,
gonna do.
well, no, all the dunks that have been done have practically been done just about. I mean, it's hard to be creative when you see so many of these different dunks that have
Well,
been
if you
done.
mention dunks, I mean, there's Angel Fernandez dunking. So, but that's a
That's a
story
whole
for another
different
day.
type of dunk. That's a
Bro,
whole
bro,
different
what
type
you
of dunk
doing?
right there,
You
boy.
gonna get us kicked off the air,
I'm
bro?
telling you, boy. PSP on here talking.
You gonna
PSP
get
on
us
here
kicked
talking
off
about
the air,
tall
bro?
glasses of water, and here I am holding my tall glass of water right here. But
The thirstiness is in the air tonight.
I'm telling you, boy, we got our tall glass of water here ready to go, and PSP pulling up one of the better ones we've probably seen in a minute. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But yeah, like I feel like the dunk. I can't really hold the guys in the dunk contest as far as like, man, y'all slacking off. You got to look at some of the greatest dunk contests we've seen over the last like 20 plus some odd years, and some of the dunks that have been done. Like I feel like if Vince Carter in 2000 had the singular greatest individual performance we've ever seen out of the dunk contest, the greatest 1v1 dunk contest I've ever seen is 2016. It's Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine.
That was
Some of the
competitive.
some of the dunks like that double that underneath both legs
Yeah.
going over the mascot Aaron Gordon, like that's one of the sickest things I've ever done. And him and Zach LaVine just blow for blow. Like for me, that's like the greatest 1v1 I have personally ever seen. And I seen Mike and Dominique. I've seen those highlights. They went at it. And and then you get like the Nate Robinson performance. You get the I think you got the Dwight Howard 2008 performance where he did the Superman where he put the cape on and he literally 6'10" jumping from damn near the free throw line and throwing the ball in the hoop. I mean, one of the singular greatest dunks I've ever seen in the contest. There's not a lot left to be done. I mean, that's why I don't see why I feel like the NBA should ask and invite some of those professional dunkers to come in and just do it with some of the pros. And
Might
I
as well
feel
do
like
that.
get somebody like a Jordan Kilgannon to come in and really do something like that because I follow him and he's one of the best dunkers I've ever seen. I mean, he don't play ball. He's professional dunker, and he's one of the sickest ones I've ever seen. Like he's the one. Like if y'all haven't seen Jordan Kilgannon, he's the one that's perfect. He perfected the scorpion, the scorpion dunk, and it's basically no look, arm backwards, just throwing it in, no look. It's like one of the nastiest things I've ever seen. So I don't. The NBA could do that as far as the dunk contest. I just feel like with the dunk contest, it's hard to be creative because just about every possible dunk that's been done has been done, and it's really hard trying to come up with new ideas for the in the big 2026. It's hard to come up with ideas for the dunk contest. Um, and another thing is like you're not seeing the superstars do the dunk contest. You're seeing the young guys who are are okay players, but I feel like one year we're gonna need a year where it's like Anthony Edwards is doing it, John Morant is doing it, like the superstars like Jalen Johnson who's an up and coming star, like guys like him. We need you need big names ultimately to bring back, and that's I think it's really going to be hard to bring the big names back because a lot of them honestly just they don't want to risk the injuries like that going into All Star Weekend. I mean, we can kind of be upset about it. We can kind of eyes at it a little bit, But I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. As much as they want to enjoy All-Star Weekend and they have every right to do so, they don't want to come in and get hurt on a weekend like this, and then bam, there goes the rest of their season. It sucks, but I mean, it's just kind of one of those things. Yeah, like y'all were talking about, and y'all making good points as far as like Adam Silver needing to like really kind of talk with the owners and talk with the players and kind of have like some important town halls with these unions, and just kind of really hammer out you know ironclad kind of plans that can maybe really uplift NBA All-Star Weekend back to like what it was. Like I feel like NBA All-Star Weekend and the Major League All-Star Game at a time were the best All-Star festivities in all the sports. They were the best because you know you're gonna get a show at some point, but it's gonna be a competitive show. You were gonna get that at some point, and they need to find a way to kind of they got to find a way to get back to that. I mean, I hope you would think with a guy like Adam Silver, who's as smart as Adam Silver, you hope he finds a way. You really hope he could find a way. But like I said, it's just gonna take it's got to take effort and it's got to take real conversations happening in order to bring this back. I don't I don't think it's as far off as some people think it is, but I think real conversations really need to be had in order to really start a movement to get it back going. I mean, I like it's definitely going to take some allocations of money. I mean, it's always going to take money, but yeah, ultimately it's just going to be about what the owners want as far as for their players coming into events like this, and then ultimately what the players want coming into and coming out of events like this. That's ultimately going to better the game and kind of uplift it back to what it was in previous years. So conversations definitely need to be had. I don't want it to go away, but they really need to just kind of lay out a game plan and just see what needs to be done in order to fix it and kind of bring it back to what it was. I don't think it's as far off, but there's conversations that need to be had.
Hey, listen, if you want for the WNBA, I would love to see more WNBA players like being involved with the 3-point shooting contest or any type of activities regarding All Star Weekend. It can help
I would
out the
love
NBA and
I would love to
also
see
can
a
help out the
one-on-one
WNBA.
tournament.
I wouldn't mind that. I would also love to see the rematch between Sabrina Ayuk versus Steph Curry. I would also like to see some type of competition or anything, or like the Taco Bell Skills Challenge, which between the WNBA players or the NBA players,
Oh,
helping
I
out
would
the.
love that.
Yeah, I would love that, especially the unrivaled. That could also
Hmm.
help them get the attention. But I think Champ, as we said with Adam Silver, he's going to have a conversation. He has to hold these players more accountable. And he's going to have to perhaps take a page out of David Stern's book. Um, because again, when you look at certain players like John Moran, for instance, whether him getting himself in trouble off the court, the first time it was like what, an 8-game suspension, but then the second time, right after the NBA Finals, he was hit 25 games. And I'm like, he's lucky as hell this wasn't David Stern because he probably would have suspended him half the season.
Maybe even
But
for the rest of the season. Look what happened again with Arenas.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, we can't disregard that. We can't disregard that. But I think with John Morant, he was able to get by because again, the NBA did want to make him the face of the NBA, the Nike deal. I did think that also played a factor. But again, to your point with Gilbert Arenas, he did have that gun situation and he had $100 million at that time. And he was an all-star with the Washington Wizards. So I just think that Commissioner Silver is gonna have to step in, hold these players more accountable and tell them, look, what do you want? If we're trying to be okay, all right, we stay where we at. But if we're trying to get back to what we once were, we're gonna have to make sacrifices. That means we can't stop. That means we gotta stop with this load management, and also too, we gotta stop with these tournaments. Enough. Either you're gonna play 82 games or not. We're just gonna have to come up with different suggestions. We can't keep copying from other leagues just in order for us to compete. Comes down to. But fellas, even though football season is officially over, just because we may not see the pigskin every Saturday and Sunday, that doesn't mean we can't stop talking about it and
yeah.
focus on heading into next season. But of course, let's talk about the Super Bowl. once again, BRF and I, we 2-0 when it comes to our football championship predictions because we had Indiana over Miami
Mm-hmm.
and we also had Seattle over New England.
Yes, indeed.
I said the way for Seattle to win this game, keep Drake May in the pocket. Keep him from using his legs. And in that game against the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl, Drake May was sacked 6 times. 27 to 43 for 295 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. But that was in garbage time. He had 2 interceptions. A QBR on a scale of 0 to 100, 16.3. The way for Seattle to win this game is just simple. Just keep Drake May in that pocket. Prevent him from using his legs. Because overall, Drake May didn't play particularly well, not only in this game, but also in the postseason.
No, he did not.
He hasn't. Now, in fairness to him, it was against really good defenses, the Chargers, the Texans, the Broncos. No shame to that. But overall, he hasn't played pretty well. And I said, if he was struggling against these defenses, imagine with Seattle. Man, I feel happy for our good fella, Brandon from the block. Still don't know how he and Champ look like brothers, or Champ looks like the father of Brandon. That's a story for another day. I'm sorry, they kind of look like. I mean, they kind of have the same face.
We'll
and-
stick. We'll stick with brothers for this
Brother.
conversation.
What is wrong with you with these pipe bombs today, man? Did you? What is wrong with you today?
I've been watching too much Jim Cornette. Sue me. but yeah,
Drink on that.
but when I
Boy,
look at Seattle,
Champ. About to say, if we talking about father boy, Champ was in it to Papa Rosa Rolling Stone days. I don't think we need that.
Bro,
one.
chill.
no, come on, we don't want Champ, and we don't want Papa Champ and Mama Champ getting on after us. And plus, you want to bring my mama into the equation to defend her son? No, we don't want that. There's going to be some furniture moving. We don't need
Dun,
that.
dun, dun, dun.
What is
But
wrong
any-
with
Well, you did say you need new friends. You did say you need new friends. But anyway, as I was saying, congratulations to Brandon from the block and the Seattle Seahawks. 11 years since Super Bowl 49, when, of course, the unexplainable play with Russell Wilson throwing the football and then Malcolm Butler with the interception. Their defense, man, they were consistent. Was it the most exciting Super Bowl game that we saw? No, we didn't.
Mhm.
It wasn't the greatest Super Bowl performance, but I loved it because, again, the defenses getting their love. But it wasn't all Drake May's fault. Hey, big fella, I'm sorry. Will Campbell, 14 pressures. Now, again, you are a rookie, but they did draft you with the 4th overall pick, if I'm not mistaken. They drafted you to be the protector for Drake May. And then he kind of tried to use an excuse by saying, well, he brought up an injury, but then he said he wasn't going to use it as an excuse. Well, if you're not going to use it as an excuse, why bring up the injury?
Mhm.
Face it, you went up against a better team. Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, Champ, what did I tell you with the Dallas Cowboys? When you move on from the Dallas Cowboys and when you go to an organization with structure, hey, you can say, hey, that's on the players, but at the same time, that's on Jerry as well because of the atmosphere that you created. But when I look at the Seattle Seahawks, I also said Kenneth Walker for Super Bowl MVP. And he was running that football. Sam Darnold didn't need to play spectacular. All he needed to do was just one thing only. Just protect the football. I don't ask anything more from you, Sam Darnold. You've done exactly your part. You were phenomenal in that NFC Championship game. It would have been a lot better if you played just as well in the Super Bowl like you did in the NFC Championship game. But I didn't need Sam Darnold to do that. All I just needed to do was rely on my defense going after Drake May. I just need Kenneth Walker to run the football. I just need y'all to play consistent. Don't make any mistakes. Seattle. Baltimore. Y'all fumbled the bag by letting go of Mike McDonald. First year, head coach, winning the Super Bowl, one of the best defenses. Man, Baltimore, y'all really fumbled y'all bag, man. And it tells you a lot about coaching. Sam Darnold. You know, during your time in New York and Carolina, you were labeled the bus. Although I thought it was unfair that you were labeled a bus during your time in New York because A, you didn't really have that much talent to work with. B, you had Adam Gase as your head coach. It's pretty obvious that you were seeing ghosts. C, the New York Jets still haven't gotten their shit together. Matter of fact, at one point, Woody Johnson, Madden ratings. Of all the things you can evaluate players for, Madden ratings. Then you went to Carolina to compete with Baker Mayfield. That didn't work out, but you learned from Kyle Shanahan during your time in San Francisco and in Minnesota. Hey, Minnesota, you also messed up as well because you did have Sam Darnold, who was balling in 2024, but you wanted to move on and go with J.J. McCarthy. You look at that QB class in 2024, Baker, number 1 overall pick, who also turned around his career. Let's give love to Baker Mayfield as well. Josh Allen, in my opinion, he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. Lamar Jackson, he's going to the Hall of Fame. I believe he's the first ballot, in my opinion. But Sam Darnold, you want to talk about comeback stories, and became the first USC quarterback to win a Super Bowl. For all the slander and criticism that he's received, major kudos to him. Jackson Smith-Njigba, even though he didn't play particularly well in that Super Bowl game, hey, Christian Gonzalez. I told you, champ, why I wanted Washington to draft Christian Gonzalez. Man, he made some plays. But overall, Jackson Smith-Njigba had a hell of a season. Won Offensive Player of the Year, made first team All-Pro. Kenneth Walker stepped in after Jacques Charbonnet got hurt. He played well. That defense of Seattle, Mike McDonald, obviously the offensive coordinator, who's now going to be the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. Kudos to him. And I think they're going to draft Mendoza, champ, because they have enough money in cap space, and he is an offensive guy. So you got to give him somebody to work with at that talent position. I just hope that the Raiders, to your point, they don't sabotage Fernando Mendoza because he is a great kid. And again, as you always say, quarterback cannot throw on his back. So, but he does. But if you draft Fernando Mendoza, you have Ashton Genty, you have Brock Bowers when healthy, of course, from your Georgia Bulldogs. When I look at Seattle, man, heck of a year. That tells you a lot about the GM, the coaching, the organization, what they've built around them to win a Super Bowl. You can't say anything more about
the general manager.
General manager. Yeah, I said general manager, the president, coaching. You have to give a lot of credit to Seattle. They got to this point. All I said was for them, just keep Drake May in that pocket. As for New England, I still believe they're going to be just fine because they have enough money in cap space. For Drake May, this is going to be some growing pains. He's just going to have to learn from this, move on from it. But I still believe that New England can compete. Will Campbell, you're going to have to make up for that performance in that Super Bowl. 14 pressures. Now, again, you are a rookie, so I will give you the benefit of the doubt. There's no shame going up against that Seattle defense. Mike Vrabel is their guy. He's their type of head coach. I think they'll be fine. Stephon Diggs, we'll leave it at that. Champ wants me to be nice. I'll leave it at that. But at the same time, we'll go from there. But we can see Champ's reaction. Hey, that's what happens when. From that guy from Menace to Society. You know that dude who's interrogating Kane. Now you know you done fucked up.
You know it, don't you? You know it, don't you?
But
Oh,
major,
Stephon,
but major
man.
kudos to Seattle.
Oh, Stephon Diggs. I hate that we share the same name, bro. I hate that we got the same first name, bro. You make Stephon's look bad. That's bad. That's bad. Yes, my real name is Stephon. Everybody just calls me Chess in real life. But yeah, you make us Stephon's look bad, man. You can't make, when you think about Stephon, that's an epic name, man. You think about Stephon Marbury. You think about Stephon from Steve Urkel. You think about that, man. You think about guys like myself, man. There's the name, man.
Well, it's a
Man,
curse, apparently. It seems like.
yeah, it probably is. I mean, I don't think it's a curse, but I don't.
It's a
I
hell
think
of a name to have, though. It sounds cool, though.
it is cool. It's actually German.
Oh, I
It's
didn't know
actually
that. I
yeah,
didn't know
it's
that.
actually German. It's actually a German name.
That's
I
cool.
didn't find out that until later on in life. But yeah, man, you lost the Super Bowl, then you lost your girl. Damn, that's got to be nasty. Then you might be on your way to the penitentiary. So I mean, it just gonna get no worse than that, man. But
Hey, Cardi, listen.
did you see on
Um,
the source? Did you see on the source today?
yes, I saw it.
That was wonderful, wasn't it?
I will say this before you add on to the Super Bowl champ. Listen, ladies, it wouldn't hurt y'all to have a Russell Wilson or a Clay Thompson.
I mean, everybody, look. I'm gonna just be real. Look, you can't go look. I'm gonna just say something that my brother and my father used to tell me. If you're trying to find angels, you got to go where angels are. If you're gonna find the demon, if you're trying to find the devil, you got to go where the demons is. So you might want to reroute where you're going if you keep going in that direction. And look, there's another old saying down south that you can relate to it, VRL. Never let the same dog bite you twice. And just because you walk around the corner doesn't mean it ain't necessarily that same dog. Just because you are a bulldog, a pit bull bitch, and you went around the corner and now you see a Great Dane, that don't mean it ain't the same type of dog. So be cautious, people. Look, I know it's Valentine's Day weekend, but I encourage you, man, protect this right here, your heart, and protect your mind, man, because heartbreak can cause insanity, and you don't need that in your life. So, and look, you get out of a bad breakup, go heal. Go heal. I'm not going to say don't do what I would normally say don't do, but don't be going out there, getting that rebound love. That's exactly what it is, that rebound love. That's exactly what it is. That rebound love. That rebound love feel good for first 5 to 6 weeks.
No,
Then reality start kicking in. Look, 5 to 6 weeks, that rebound love pretty good. Y'all going over there, y'all taking pictures, y'all flexing, all on the beach, and you rap, you doing all that. But after about, I give it 6 months, which
then the alcohol wear off.
Which was what that was.
In the words of Jamie Foxx, blame it on the alcohol.
Then the alcohol wear off, and then you look at her in the face. She's not as pretty as she was that first night. So.
I mean, the thing is, look, get it how you live. Don't go around here trying. Look, that rebound love, it seemed good, man. You're healing up, and everybody want to go out there, get theirs, man. I'm finna go out here and start acting foul and wild. Mm-hmm. And it's even worse now for her because now she got a little souvenir. Mm-hmm. So be careful, man. And the thing is, everybody was wanting. And the thing that kind of bothers me the most is you see it in a repeat cycle, whether it be with dudes and women. Everybody warned her about it, because I remember I would never forget this right here. Remember when he was on the Minnesota Vikings, right? And then they had a camera crew came in. I think it was part of their social media team. Mm-hmm. And they said, which one of your teammates would like least to date your sister?
Everybody was saying Stephon Diggs. Everybody said Stephon Diggs.
It was pretty obvious.
So I mean, he'll play a player, but
Yeah, I remember exactly what you're talking about, boy. Everybody on Minnesota said Stephon Diggs.
Oh, champ. I saw that video, champ. Damo from Players Choice. Yeah. I was checking out one of his streams, and he showed the video, and I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody told you it was a snake, but you still let it bite you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you let the snake bite you probably because of the snake, but you just never know. But anyway,
Thoughts on the game, big fella?
thoughts on the game. Look, this is why I always say the linemen are the most important position in the league. I have been saying this ever since Sports PSC, Sports PSP brought me on the show, and me and Guru was arguing about linemen.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was the first show
Trent
I
was also
ever.
there as well too.
Yeah,
I
Trent,
remember.
me and Trent was arguing with Guru, shout out to Guru,
Yes.
about the offensive line. I'll say this to this very day. The quarterback can't throw on his back. And when your left tackle is getting cooked like eggs at the Waffle House in the middle of the night, yeah, you're not going to last very long. That
Mm-hmm.
dude, I mean, 14 pressures in one game. Yeah, you can rest assured you got to work your behind off next year because you ain't getting another contract if you allow that many sacks. And it wasn't just this game; they was getting cooked the entire playoff.
They were.
It was just only a matter of time. I was holding up against Hope, and I like the underdog, but you was just holding your collective breath every time he hiked that ball because they was hitting him and hitting him and hitting him. He got sacked damn near over 20 times this postseason.
20. He
So
got 22 sacks in the 22 sacks in the postseason. It was they got sacked 7 times in the Super Bowl, but yeah, it was 22 in the postseason, set a new playoff record.
that's nasty. And like I said, all of it wasn't his fault. A lot of it because you can't get any protection from your offensive line. That's why I always say offensive line is the most important position in the league. Look how the acquisition of Joe Thuney, excuse me, changed the course of not just the Chicago Bears, but for the Kansas City Chiefs. Because their
Mm-hmm.
biggest Achilles heel in the season was the offensive line.
Joe Tooney's old spot, as a matter of fact, was getting destroyed.
Exactly. You having a great offensive line can sway you into contention instantly. So never discount that O line. I know those the big guys up front. It ain't necessarily the glamour position. If you walked into some of them at the store, even with their jersey on, you probably wouldn't recognize them. They get very, very little praise, but they get all of the blame, especially when you have a Super Bowl like this.
To add on, big fella, Campbell's 29 pressures allowed were the most in a single postseason during the next gen stats since 2016.
Damn.
Nasty.
And yes, New England Patriots rookie left tackle Will Campbell struggled significantly in the 2026 postseason, allowing 4 sacks across 4 games. He
Yeah,
allowed 14 pressures and 2 sacks in the Super Bowl alone, contributing to a total of 21 sacks taken by quarterback Drake May during the playoffs.
nasty.
Whew.
Nasty work. That's why I come out and say quarterback is not the most important position. It's that offensive line. I've seen way too many teams with mediocre quarterbacks and great offensive line win Super Bowls. Like I said before, we've seen a dynasty. Well, I won't call them a dynasty. We've seen one team in particular change out skill position players. They had different skill position players every Super Bowl. They had different quarterbacks every Super Bowl. And that team was PSP's Washington Commanders. In the 80s, the consummate of that offensive, well, the consummate of that team was the Hogs. Mark May, Joe Jacoby, just to name a few, was that offensive line. Those were the consummate, and they were there for a decade. You saw the skill position players change out. You saw them win with Timmy Smith one year, George Rogers one year. You saw them change out skill position players. I mean, once we got to 1991, when they won the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills, you had even the great Ernest Bonner from Millersville, Georgia. He played on that team. The skill position players changed out. You had the Smurfs, you had the Fun Bunch, then you finally had the set receiving called the Posse. You know, Ricky Sanders, Art Monk, and Gary Clark. But throughout that decade, it switched itself out. Skill position players, the quarterbacks. The foundation was that offensive line. Funny thing about the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s, a lot of their skill position players don't get the respect they deserve. Why? Because of that offensive line. One of the greatest of all time. When you think about that zone blocking scheme out there in Denver, why was it so successful? Because of that offensive line. Every Super Bowl team in Dynasty, your offensive line had to be flawless. And this ain't the first time that we've seen the New England Patriots break because of offensive line breakdowns. Remember the 1995 Super Bowl, Reggie White, when he played against Drew Bledsoe and them, he was killing them on the right side, had 3 sacks in that one game. So that is why I always say the offensive line is the most important position in football. You protect those great quarterbacks and those great skill position players. Having a great offensive line can steer you from being pretenders to contenders. Funny thing about the Great Wall of Dallas, before they came into their own, they were pretenders. When that line came into its own, guess what? They became contenders, especially after they added Larry Allen in the draft.
Mhm.
So offensive line play sways you. No matter what they say, you can replace a wide receiver. You can replace running back. Hell, if you really want me to be honest with you, you can even replace a quarterback. He may not be as good as the last guy was, but you can replace him and get some decent play. You cannot replace great offensive line. For every one Joe Thuney, there's 5 Robert Galleries. I will say that again. For every one Joe Thuney that has came through this league, there's been 5 Robert Galleries. Offensive line play is not predicated on anybody else's play. It's you, the playbook, and the man in front of you. And if you can't play, it's going to show quick, especially in the big moments. And that's what hurt the New England Patriots. Do I think they have a chance to be back? Yes. I think they have a chance to be back. I think they're going to win the division next year. I don't know how this new coach in Buffalo is going to do. We
Joe
don't
Brady.
know. Yeah, we don't. I don't know what Joe Brady is going to do. I don't know. I mean, like I stated, I don't know how Joe Brady is going to do. I don't know what the New York Jets is going to do, and I sure as hell don't know what the Miami Dolphins are going to do. There's a lot of question marks on those other teams. This team, with the exception of offensive line, has a constant. You have a good quarterback. You have good building blocks. You have great defensive players. You have great skill position players. You have to make. You have to. I think they should move Will Campbell to guard rather than tackle. I think once they shore that offensive line up, I think it'll be better for the long haul. But I think they do have a chance in order to get back. But no quarterback in the history of the game that has lost their second year has made it back. And you can go all the way back to Dan Marino. He lost his he lost his first and only Super Bowl in his second year. He lost. Colin Kaepernick, he lost. And the list goes on and on. No quarterback that has ever made it to a Super Bowl in his second year and lost has ever made it back. So they want to make it back, then they got to find ways in order to do so. Now to his credit, I don't think he's going to have as much competition as those guys did before him. To Colin Kaepernick's point, you still had the Legion of Boom and a lot of other teams within their division in order to deal with. Dan Marino, as his team was going up, the Buffalo Bills was flying up.
And furthermore, champ, with Colin Kaepernick at that point, sooner or later they were moving on from Harbaugh.
Yeah. So and yeah, they had to move on from Harbaugh, which I think was a mistake, but
I agree as well.
they was able to come back from that. But got to serie up that offensive line. Everything else is pretty much in its place.
And not to mention, you have cap space. So they're still going to be fine in that regard. So it's gonna probably take them a minute for them to get back to the Super Bowl. And that's why I said, champ, even though you mentioned Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel, yes, they've been there, they've done that. But I also mentioned to you with this young roster, this young team. And Will Campbell was the latest example of it. Um, BRF.
Honestly, I feel that game when I was looking at that game and I did my video and I wanted to put my analyst kind of hat on and kind of see how I felt was gonna, were gonna be the keys as far as like each team winning that game. I think the biggest takeaway for me was Kenneth Walker and how he played from first quarter to fourth quarter. Granted, Seattle didn't necessarily run a lot of play action, which I thought was going to be important for them because, like I said, and like I said in our pod, last week leading up to the game, Sam Darnold had the second highest passer rating in play action, and had the fourth most passing yards in the league on the play action pass. So I felt like it was vital for New England to really slow down Kenneth Walker the third and really allow for try to make Sam Darnold beat you without the threat of the play action, traditional passing game. But Kenneth Walker got hot, and he got the hot hand, and it was just no stopping him once he got in the rhythm. Once that offensive line got in the rhythm, it was just no stopping him. That Seattle defense, that's one of the great defensive performances we've seen in the Super Bowl in a long time. Probably going back to that Super Bowl 53 with the Patriots and the Rams in that low scoring game. But what the Patriots were able to do to the Rams and Jared Goff and Todd Gurley in that game, it's probably the best defensive performance we've seen probably since that game. If you want to put the Philadelphia Eagles in there, you can as well. But just from a sheer dominant standpoint, yeah, the Seattle Seahawks really put on a show, and it started with that pass rush with guys like Leonard Williams and Demarcus Lawrence, and just really kind of setting the tone. And Will Campbell, I think the biggest con with Will Campbell, I felt like going into the draft when he was drafted, coming into the season, even though he was a surefire pick, we know he's going to be a good player, but it was the arms, it's the arms, and it's the arm length, it's having the short arms, and when you have arms his length, it's like you can't really start. You gotta have your technique on point. You can't get away with like starting later as opposed to other left tackles who may have like longer arms who can get away with starting later and really being able to kind of use that leverage still to kind of hold off, any would-be pass rush trying to get to the quarterback. If Will Campbell starting late with his arms and he gets a hands on you, that leverage game is pretty much already over. Then you can just kind of manhandle him and do what you want to do at that point. And that's really what happened with Will Campbell. There was really no answer once they got going. You know, when you're running into the best defenses in the league, they're going to analyze you. They know your weaknesses and they're going to take advantage of you. And that's really what happened with Will Campbell. They took advantage of his arm length and they bull rushed him. And once they got on him, that was it. And it was really a common pattern what you saw in all the playoffs, whether it was the Chargers, whether it was the Texans, the Broncos, or the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. They took advantage of Will Campbell's they took advantage of his weaknesses and they got him. That was Seattle. I mean, and Mike McDonald. Shout out to Mike McDonald. He had an awesome game plan. If I'm not mistaken, he's the first head coach to win the Super Bowl calling the defensive plays. If I'm not mistaken. So it was that's just his genius at work. He came up with an unbelievable game plan to really attack Drake May, keep him in the pocket, take away his ability to use his legs, make him a traditional pocket passer, and really getting pressure on those wide receivers. They weren't scared of those wide receivers. I mean, got up on them, they pressed them, they threw them off of the rhythm. They weren't scared of the receivers. They really weren't scared of much New England was doing on the offensive side of the ball, and you saw that from beginning to end. The way they were getting pressure and the way they were stopping their playmakers once they got the hand on the ball. Seattle had a game plan and they stuck to it, and that's why they were able to dominate the way they did. You see Drake May having 295 passing yards. He set a record for most passing yards in the fourth quarter with 238. By then, the game was over. The game was over at that point.
It was 19-0 at one point, and then he started. The best throw that he made was like in triple coverage, and then after that, he connected with Mac Hollins on that touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
But once he threw that second interception that led to the pick six, it was over.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a wrap at that point, because at that point you're trying to play catch up, and a defense like the Seattle Seahawks, who thrives in pass rush, who thrives in getting to the quarterback, that's how they want to do it. They want you down where they know you have to pass the ball, and they can pin their ears back and go at you, and that's really what they did midway third quarter and on when they had a big lead, and even when they were getting into a rhythm, it didn't take them out of their game. They kept doing what they were doing. They were still able to attack them, and then it ultimately led to that game sealing interception with about 5 minutes to go in the game. And from there, it was Kenneth Walker running the ball, wearing the New England defense out, ultimately winning Super Bowl MVP. That game pretty much went about as well as it could have gone for the Seattle Seahawks, and about as bad as it could have gone for the New England Patriots. And another thing, and we talked about this on our pod, Josh McDaniels had a bad game plan. I did not like the way he was calling offensive plays in that game. Like, he didn't use enough Travion Henderson. He didn't he didn't make an effort to allow Drake May to use his legs early in the game. So by the time you're down double digits, 19 points, by the time you're down, Drake May really has to be a pocket passer to try to get you back in the game. He didn't really try to establish Drake May as a dual threat early in the game, which what I felt is what he was going to do to really kind of offset that pass rush. And I would have liked to seen more Travion Henderson and his explosiveness taking advantage of how aggressive Seattle's pass rush likes to be. You're running quarterback draws, you're doing RPOs, you're doing bootlegs. They didn't do enough to take advantage of the they didn't do enough really to take advantage of Seattle's pass rush. So by the time you're in late third, fourth quarter, you're having to throw. There's really nothing you can do. You just, at that point, with a pass rush as good as Seattle's, you're just praying that Drake May can get the ball out on time. And they were rocking him from pillar to post. I mean, I hope it doesn't break him. I don't want it to break him. I feel like a guy like Drake May can come back from a game like this. He's still young. This will be year 3 for him. I see him rebounding after this and really kind of putting his flag back into the ground as far as like what this team is going to do in the future in terms of competing for AFC East championships. They should be the favorites to win the AFC East coming up in 2026. We know the Jets are going to be trash. We know the Dolphins aren't going to be good. The Buffalo Bills are probably one of the more enigmatic teams in the league in terms of what they're going to be with Joe Brady as a new head coach. I mean, he's a good offensive coordinator. What are you going to do as a head coach? What are you going to do as the man when everything is like on your shoulders? And that's a completely different animal, and that's a completely different type of hurdle. I
And
definitely see.
and not only
No, go
that, the
ahead.
rest of the AFC, because again, Mahomes, we got to wait and see how he comes back from the ACL injury.
Right.
I
Exactly.
do think bringing in Eric Bieniemy will help as opposed to having Matt Nagy. When you look at Cincinnati, the thing that's been consistent with them, high-powered offense, but they still have issues with that offensive line, and we know about their defense. And with Baltimore, we got to wait and see because just like with Josh Allen, just like with Lamar, I mean, has the Super Bowl window for them have been closing? I mean, the only team that seems like that's in New England's way is Denver because Houston, they have the defense, but man, CJ Stroud, boy, he let me down.
CJ
And
Stroud, yeah, CJ Stroud. Like, I feel like Houston could be in that tier with the Denver Broncos for the next 3 to 5 years, but it's all on CJ Stroud. If CJ Stroud can get back to that rookie year he threw for 4,000 yards, was just showing out week in and week out. If he can get back to a semblance of that with
they
that
would have it. Oh,
defense.
yeah, we would have. That would be the first time in franchise history for them to get to the conference championship, and
mm,
then Justin Herbert. I don't want to use. I don't want to use the term playoff choker, but when it comes to him, I think it does apply
Yeah.
I
because
think at
he's
this
come up
stage with
short.
Justin, yeah, I think at this stage with Justin Herbert, I mean, you can't keep letting him off the hook with
I
these
can't.
performances in the playoffs. You can't keep letting him off the hook. Granted, I mean, you look at that New England game. Yeah, I mean, people say, well, his offensive line was hurt. Well, those guys were out all year and they still got to the playoffs. So I mean, you can't really use the offensive line. He was playing with that offensive line all year. He still put up good numbers, and they still almost won the AFC West, and they still got to the playoffs. So you can't necessarily use the offensive line as an excuse when he played with that line all year.
But I
But
think New
yeah,
England has a good enough shot because when you look at Kansas City, to Champ's point, with the offensive line issues, they have to address that, and plus they also have to address the
mhm,
wide receiver position, and they also have to address the tight end. Matter of fact, it's even reported that they may try to look at Kyle Pitts, or they may try to look at David Njoku because
Yeah.
it's been reported that he wants out of Cleveland.
oh yeah,
So Chiefs got to figure out something with that. Baltimore, in the meantime, new head coach, new defensive coordinator. It's going to take some time for Baltimore to get back in Buffalo. Joe Brady with Josh Allen. Yeah, it's there, but at the same time, has the Super Bowl window have been closed for Buffalo? Because they've had chances. This was supposed to be Josh Allen's best opportunity for them to get back to get to a Super Bowl, at least. So to me, it's New England, and I think Denver, because I've said it before. Say what you want to say about Bo Nix, 8 game winning drives. Had Bo Nix had played in that AFC Championship game, I believe that Denver may have won, and they would have checked into the Super Bowl. And it would have been interesting to see who would have won that game between Seattle or Denver. And if it came down to Bo Nix, would I be surprised if Bo Nix delivered a game-winning drive in the Super Bowl? Probably not. It seems like the big moments with Bo Nix, he's not afraid. He lives up for it. That's not to say that Bo Nix is an elite quarterback or anything like that. Please don't get it twisted. When it comes to big moments and big situations, he shows up. Drake May did not play well. The offensive line, Will Campbell, Josh McDaniels, he should have done a better job getting Ramonde Stevenson and Travion Henderson more in the passing game and with the running game. He should have used Drake May more, to your point, BRF, in the running early in the game. Seattle did
they
his
really
part.
should
Just
have.
take away the running game away from Drake May. And when you look at special teams, boy, the punter from Seattle.
Putting
I
the
mean,
food
he,
forward.
He's
yeah,
the best punter. He's the best punter in the league. He's the best punter in the league. Michael
yeah,
Dixon is insane.
yes. And there were some opportunities, and Drake May was missing some throws. Even Chris Collinsworth was killing him. Like some of the throws that he had, he could have made, but in the end, you just got to give credit to Seattle. I mean, the only person from New England had won that game and would have won Super Bowl MVP, I was giving it to Christian Gonzalez.
Oh, same
Yes.
here. Easily, easily.
How
He
the
would
way
have
he was
easily won
playing
that.
defense. Yeah. But I don't mind Kenneth Walker winning it, but if you wanted to give it to somebody on the defensive side of Seattle, I wouldn't be mad at you if you done that. Because how the way they were playing defense in
Yeah.
that game, man.
I think if you had
And
to
I
go
predicted it
like
was going to be low scoring because
yeah,
again, it was like 19-0. Even you, Champ, and BRF, y'all predicted a high scoring game. I would say at least 19-16.
Yes.
I was giving it 28-24 because I was at least expecting New England's offense to really develop a rhythm early and kind of do what we were talking about leading up into the game. Like, and you brought it up again, PSP, as far as getting Drake May involved early as far as his ability to run with the football. I was expecting them to do that early, and Josh McDaniels didn't he didn't do that enough. So it was like they became they became one dimensional earlier than they probably would have liked, and it bit them in the butt, and it caught up with them. And Seattle, and that's why Seattle was really able to eat them alive and do their thing. They became one dimensional way too early.
Absolutely, man. But fellas, let's continue on with the Super Bowl because again, it wasn't just a football game that was entertaining. Of course, the Super Bowl halftime show. Bad Bunny. Boy, he put on a show. I loved
Cooked.
the performance. It was cool. I loved the fact that when he handed the little boy his Grammy Award, I love the fact how he got other countries united together. Yes, was I happy to see the Latinas, the baddies dancing, including Cardi B there? Cardi, don't try to act as if you weren't there. We all knew you were there dancing. Also, Jessica Alba was there as well too. Shout out to Jessica Alba. But Bad Bunny was putting on a great show and a performance in the Super Bowl. No surprise, it beat out Turning Point USA. By the way, it looks pretty bad for Turning Point USA when Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes are calling you out, questioning whether or not the views you had were legitimate. Because Turning Point USA, they claiming what, champs, over 6
It was
million that they
5 million. It was 5 million, but I doubt it was even that.
had.
They couldn't get it streamed live on X because of copyright issues. Number one,
Right.
they was hurt right off the gate. So with them not being able to do it on a network television show and them trying to stream it online, that kind of hurt them in the first place. Not to mention, you didn't really have no super big time act. This is not 2001, and this ain't the TRL generation. So
No.
No, it's not.
if,
And
if you,
and it biked them in the ass. And Trump, we all knew he had something controversial to say regarding the Super Bowl. He said Bad Bunny's performance was absolutely terrible. Well, if it's so terrible, then why did you spend the time watching it?
yeah,
Facts.
that's something I never did get. You had an opportunity, and look, I'm gonna just be real. This is just me. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I don't like a show, let's say I don't like Survivor and a rival show. Well, let's just go back to the Monday Night Wars because remember, I compared Turning Point versus the halftime show to the Monday Night Wars. If you don't like something, then do everything you can in order to beat them in the ratings. If you are the president and anybody else on that team, then guess what? You do everything you can in order to watch the show that you deem conducive.
Mhm.
That's the thing. You do no, I'm serious.
You're
You
right
do
though.
everything you can. You don't have pictures in the White House of you watching the Super Bowl halftime show. I wouldn't even turn it on. I would have had it on Kid Rock. Now there's this whole investigation going on because they said well the lyrics may not have been appropriate, which I think is a cop out. I think the main thing they should have been looking at is this. The main thing, and I said this on my TikTok, by the way. The main thing they should have been looking at is what Bad Bunny did at the end of the show. He had all the flags from all the different countries in the Americas, from North America and South America, and he had the American flag first and the Puerto Rican flag leading the charge. And he held that damn football up and said, "Together we are America."
Okay.
That is the main thing that she did because he's not teaching division. He's not teaching anything. He held that thing up and said, "Together we are America." And that is the most symbolic thing that probably anybody could ever. Together we are America, not just one group, not just who we deem to be American. Together we are America. And I think people need to start from either side.
Unfortunately, that's not the case, champ.
Yeah, I know.
Because again, no, the reason why, because as you always tell me, sorry to cut you off, narrative.
Yeah,
No,
it's
no
all
matter,
about narrative.
it's all about narrative. And plus, Megan Kelly, that
I
bullshit
can't
that you
stand
were
that woman.
spewing.
I can't stand that woman,
I
bro.
mean, America. I mean, apple pie. I mean, you want the Super Bowl to just be America, man? Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit.
Everything she named in terms of food and everything like that is third party. It came from other countries. So what is she even
And what's
talking
so
about?
funny about hamburgers, hot dogs, and ribs and shit? That ain't even American.
They're all European. They're all
They're all
European
European
originated
food.
foods.
Every food that we love in America is not even a damn American food.
No,
It's
it's
a,
So
not.
we took from different countries
Ham,
and
yeah.
cultures.
That's why.
So what's the
like
That's why when you put up
hamburgers are
that
German.
football and say
Hamburgers are
together we
German.
are
Hot,
America, it's
yeah.
so significant. That's why when
Hamburgers
you
are
put that
German.
football
Hot
up
dogs
there,
are like I think hot dogs are like Italian based. It's like bro.
no,
Like
none of
come
them
on, bro.
foods are American based. I mean,
Come on,
so
bro.
so
it's kind of crazy.
Apple pie is Dutch based. I'm like what are we doing?
because
I
the
mean,
problem is they don't understand. They don't know what the fuck is going on. They don't do their research. They don't think Bad Bunny is American when he actually is American. Because, and I hate repeating this over and over again. I don't understand why it has to be so redundant. Puerto Rico is a part of the United States of America. People, if you can't understand that, just Google. You can read a book
yes.
or just go to Google and type it up real quick. And
Or watch the Little
it was
Giant.
that. And look, it looks pretty bad when Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes are calling you out regarding the views. And look, I have my issues. And to say issues would be an understatement with Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes because we all know how radical they are. After all, this is the same Nick Fuentes that called Jason Whitlock a token. But for them to be calling out Turning Point USA That is something to say. And Chimp, you mentioned the House of Republicans asking the FCC to investigate it. They had Kid Rock performing in the Super Bowl. Remember the song cool one of his songs, certain lyrics?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you are telling the FCC to investigate Bad Bunny. I mean, the nerve, the temerity, the audacity. It just tells you, champ, like you said on the TikTok, man, you can't just take the L and keep it
Mm.
moving. No one was surprised that Bad Bunny's performance surpassed clearly outperformed Turning Point USA. Bad Bunny's like, I don't know if it's the highest or the fourth or third highest. I think Kendrick Lamar is still number one.
No, no, Bad Bunny's the highest ever. He passed Kendrick.
Oh, he passed Kendrick.
He
Okay,
passed
I'm
Because,
getting
Kendrick.
because
we
I'm
getting
conflicted
conflicting
because I see
stories.
other reports that say is Kendrick, but then Bad Bunny's like is it 135.4 at Bad Bunny's or
Yeah, like yeah, Bad Bunny. I think Bad Bunny at like 135.4 is like the highest ever now.
Yeah,
okay? Because I'm confused with all these reports because 1 minute it says Kendrick has the most, but then they say Bad Bunny because I'm confused. But either way, one thing is pretty obvious as you mentioned before the show, champ. It beat the shit out of Turning Point USA. And look, I'm glad that Turning Point USA it's just a joke. You just jealous, you just mad because Bad Bunny sold. He sells tickets, he sells ratings, and you're just mad. You still say no, 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 no. We still did a good job. Like I say, please stop insulting my intelligence. Don't tell me the shit coming from your pants is chocolate. Okay, and I'm supposed to believe it's chocolate. It's bullshit. You just mad at the fact. Just take the L, keep it moving. Take this L that I'm pointing at right here. Just accept the fact that Bad Bunny's performance far, far, far better than Turning Point USA. I also get mad that Chris Brown that he mentioned that the Super Bowl should have had him perform in the Super Bowl. And yes, it would have been great to see Chris Brown perform in the Super Bowl, but to Jamel Hill's point, I do think it's taken away the moment of what Bad Bunny did in the Super Bowl, what he was trying to accomplish, the goal. As you mentioned, champ, he had everyone there of all
yeah,
countries united, and
yeah.
that's what America's supposed to be. It's supposed to be about unity, but with the dumbass in office, it's all about diversity. It's all about stupidity. I mean, hearing the comments from Megan Kane, hearing all these comments from all these other Republicans and conservatives, it's just stupid. And Stephen A. Smith, did you see the video that I sent you with Stephen A. Smith agreeing with the president about Bad Bunny singing all in Spanish?
Who
Yet I am not
cares?
surprised at all because this is the same Stephen A. Smith who criticized Shohei Ohtani. Remember what he said about Shohei Ohtani 5 years ago?
He
Yeah,
couldn't be the face of the league because he couldn't speak English.
I was trying to avoid that BRF. I mean,
Nah, at
I mean,
sometimes nah. See, you know what? I'll come in
Did I
and bite
lie?
a I'll come in
Did
and
I
bite a
lie?
bullet when you don't
Did I lie?
want to. I mean, I'll come because like Stephen A. Smith over the past like couple of years or so, he's starting to get on my damn nerve too. He ain't Jason Whitlock level getting on my damn nerve, but he's starting to get on my damn nerve. It's like because he keep talking all this junk about the 2028 presidential run and all of this stuff. Like I ain't voting for his ass. Talking about he want to run as a Democrat too. I ain't voting for him because I couldn't trust him as far as he could throw him. And this is what I'm gonna say to this day. And I saw this on Twitter. That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. From this day forward, Kid Rock is no longer Kid Rock anymore because his lip singing in that show was so bad. He's not Kid Rock anymore. He is Hillbilly Vanilli now.
you know what's so funny about Kid Rock, man? I never forget something he said about Jay Z, right? He said something kind of stupid about Jay Z, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never forget. Kid Rock, you would be the one to talk about the term DEI. Yeah, you was a DEI in hip hop.
And
What
you
that
also
that's
and you no, then also too, champ. You also called out Kid Rock. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's from Detroit. Why
yeah.
does he have
And
the
He's from
Confederate flag?
Detroit.
yeah, you from Detroit. And the thing is, you're carrying around a Confederate flag like you're a Southern general and one of the sons of the Confederacy. You ain't
Now, if
never
you
set
were in a
foot
state
down
like
south.
Alabama or
Yeah, if you was
Mississippi
in
or Tennessee or
Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, even one of the southern states, I can understand. But you ain't never set foot down south. It's quite ironic when you could it. I see a common trend with a lot of guys like that. You ever notice there's a common trend with guys like that. When they can't sell their rap albums, they always convert to doing shit like that. When they can't, sell on the hip hop side because they're not selling records, they always convert and become, try to be this, southern type of country rock type of guy. When you stole and what thing is about it, Kid Rock is his hit song, Bother the Bother. He stole that from Busy B, hip hop legend.
okay.
Everybody remembers the song Suicide by Busy B when he was battling against Cool Mo D at the rooftop in Harlem World. Everybody remembers that.
Here's the quote
The
from Stephen A. Smith and what he said about Bad Bunny speaking in Spanish. Here's my only reticence. I can't pronounce the word. You're in the United States of America and you perform damn near an entire performance in Spanish. Trump saying that Trump made a legitimate point about the lack of English. If you didn't understand Spanish, you were lost. That's ridiculous because first of all, look, none of us understand Spanish, but we can understand the vibe, the vibrations, the
Mm-hmm.
dancing, the mood, the melody, and everything else. So why?
it
But
was
again, I'm not surprised because history will always repeat itself. Again, what he said about Shohei Otani 5 years ago, saying how it's bad for baseball, for the face of Major League Baseball to have an interpreter. What does it matter if he doesn't speak English or not? The fact of the matter is, can he play? Is he a generational talent? Can
And
he
he
sell?
is.
Can he market tickets? Which Shohei Otani can do. Why is that relevant? Whether if he can speak English or not? Would it be great if he spoke English? I mean, yeah, whatever. But who cares?
what's so
Why does
funny
that
about
matter? Why is that relevant? And again, it's Trump, all these MAGA supporters, and these Republicans. Champ, I know you're smiling and laughing because I sound a lot more like Jim Cornette because I sent you the video of Trump, of Cornette bashing Trump. But I'm sorry, man. When it comes to this type of stuff, I will not hesitate to say whatever's on my mind. It's just getting ridiculous with all this stuff, all this bullshit that all these MAGA supporters and these Trump supporters and people on the right complaining about Bad Bunny's performance. If you would just tell me you're not a fan of Bad Bunny, you just don't like his music, you just don't like his style of music, all right, fine, cool. To each his own. Not everybody's everybody's cup of tea. That being said, to question whether he's American, which by the way he is technically because he's from Puerto Rico, to question his outfits or whatever, to question anything about him as a human being, that says a lot more about you.
yes,
It
it
says
does.
a lot more about you. You're just spreading a bunch of bullshit. And for these Republicans, the House of Republicans, to ask FCC to investigate this matter, it just tells me a lot about you and your bullshit. But meanwhile, and you're talking about how it's inappropriate, and to say inappropriate would be an understatement because there are certain terms which I will not use. You are questioning, you have a problem with Bad Bunny's lyrics, but look at the guy who performed on Turning Point USA and look at his lyrics. And you tell me it's something that you approve. Get the fuck out of here.
Hey, the reason why I'm laughing, like I said, Kid Rock's talk about DEI, bro. You were a DEI in hip hop. You were the rebellious kid that rebelled against your parents. And what's so funny about that? When he went to Jive Records, he had the backing of every single hip hop legend you could possibly think of. He had the backing of Too Short, De La Soul, and everybody else. He had a little high top fade. He had this little song called Yodeling in the Valley. Even DJ D Nice was backing him up and vouching for him, and he still could not sell more than 100,000 copies. It took him 10 years in order to have a hit song, and his first hit song, ironically, was stolen from Busy B, like I said, his song "Suicide" by that he went up against Cool Mo D. Go look up at it. I mean, it's on Beef. Shout out to Quincy Jones III. It's on the original Beef. You can see it. One of the biggest battles in hip hop history. Bother the bar. Everybody knows that Busy B made up that bother the bang. So all of your nuances, everything that you have done, all of the, I mean, even the hat, even the little hat that he wears, it's from Run DMC. And even in his song, I think it was called American Badass. He said, I'm
Mhm.
like Johnny Cash and Grandmaster Flash. So everything that you have at this point has been borrowed and stolen from hip hop. But yet you want to talk, even at your peak when TRL was at his peak, MTV was at his peak, when you was going #1 on the TRL chart, you could never ever eclipse a Jay-Z. You couldn't even eclipse the guys that were under him at Benny Siegel and Memphis Bleak. And if you and Jay-Z went head to head, show for show, in the same city, if y'all, even if they played on your turf, that being in Nashville, because you have a strong footing in Nashville on the strip, even if they was in your own turf, you probably could never outsell Jay-Z concert to concert. Jay-Z sold over 200 million copies. You only sold 29 million at your peak with the machine behind you. And as far as all of this other nonsense about Bad Bunny, yeah, we get the whole drift. Oh, I don't understand it. You didn't understand it last year when Kendrick Lamar was saying what he was saying. Even when Samuel L. Jackson was narrating it to you and telling you what America thought of his performance. Oh, you thought we forgot about that. He narrated the entire performance. Remember the second part of that. Too loud, too rowdy, too ghetto. Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? That was a
Right.
message. So even last year, you didn't understand. You claimed you didn't understand. So guess what? You didn't understand it in English, so we brought it to you in Spanish. So, hey, you
I
didn't
was
want.
I was kind of disappointed, Champ, with Bad Bunny's outfit. You know why? Because everything that you said last week before the Super Bowl, I wanted him to piss off so many people.
Yeah.
I wanted him to piss off even more.
Hey,
I
man.
I'm dead ass serious when I say
Yeah, I
that.
know.
I
I
wanted
know.
him to piss off even more because I want to hear what them motherfuckers have to say. And look, like I said, if you're not a fan of Bad Bunny's music, his style or something, okay, that's fine. That's cool. But to say that he doesn't belong or shouldn't perform in the Super Bowl, like I said, is bullshit. It just tells me a lot about you. To say that his performance was terrible or wasn't that good, clearly you don't know music. Clearly you can't vibe. Clear, you don't have to understand what he says, but you can just vibe, you can just feel, you can understand music. It was a hell of a performance. It was a great performance. It also symbolized what America's supposed to be, united for everyone, for every continent, every country. And that's what it's supposed to be. But instead, because of the dumbass in office and because of what's going on in this world, we're just so stick to diversity. And again, Megan Kelly, her comments and BRF, I'll let you go even further if you want to say about Megan Kelly. Matter of fact, I'll let you have the floor right now.
Wait to see this.
My thing is this though. I mean, it's a shame that they talk about like the Latin people the way they do, but yet they still visit their countries, going on vacation. Stay your butt out of Mexico. Stay your butt out of Puerto Rico. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about them being over here and all this other stuff, but yet you still want to engage and you still want to enjoy their culture. You still want to visit their countries. You still want to get with their women. You still want to eat their food. Like I mean, you pick a struggle. You know what I'm saying? Find the lane and stay in it. You can't talk about them one way, but yet you still want to enjoy and engage in the culture. You can't have it both ways. Pick a struggle. Like shout out to I can't remember the latest name. Gosh, but she
Which
does the
woman? I can
she
try to
does
help
the
you.
oh gosh, Jennifer. Her name's Jennifer. Jennifer Welch. Jennifer Welch. That woman, she hit it on such that, I mean, I'm talking about hit it to the T. Like, if you wanna enjoy your own culture, you bathe in it. Like, quit. Don't watch sports that are dominated by, by basically by us. Don't go into Latin restaurants. Don't enjoy their culture. Just enjoy the culture that just want to be so you just want to so dominate. And I'm not trying to sound like that, but they give off these vibes when they say the stuff they say. And I mean, and Megan Kelly, she's a grifter anyway. She's always has been. Like, whatever's trending at the time, she's gonna go that way anyway. It wouldn't surprise me at all if, like, 5 or 6 years down the road, things flip and she flipped again and switched the other sides. I mean, Megan Kelly was like that because that was the time she would speak against Trump. She was speaking against Trump at one point. Now she's like just front and center as like one of the biggest supporters. So I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, I don't even take Megan Kelly's word seriously. And it's like,
Just like we don't take Jason Whitlock's word seriously.
I mean, Jason. I've said this about Jason Whitlock, and I'll say it again. Jason Whitlock ain't nothing more than a Fat Albert and a radio combination. I've said that about him once. I'll say it again. That's all he is. That's all he is. I'm not. I take Jason Whitlock about as serious. You know what? I ain't even gonna go there. There's a special tier in life for people like Jason Whitlock, and he can just sit there and he can just rest in it. For all I know, I mean, he is like if you took the word disgrace and you put a man's face beside the word disgrace, and I know I just made a bar, I don't even care at this point. You take a man's face in a picture and you put it beside the word disgrace, it's Jason Whitlock. I mean, it's a shame. I mean, it's a shame the things that he's allowed to say and have a platform, and just because he draws some viewers that kind of agree with what he has to say, he keeps a platform. I mean, he is like, wait a minute, how did I don't want to say it the way Cat
Simple
Williams say
Simon,
it.
motherfucker.
Not that. There's a Cat Williams says it another way, and I don't want to say it, but he hit it perfectly with guys like Jason Whitlock, because it was in his Pimp Chronicles special where he talked about smoking and how smoking made people smart.
Do you really want to hear what Jason Whitlock had to say regarding Bad Bunny's performance in the Super Bowl? Says here,
you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to pick it apart. What do you say?
Humor.
Following the performance, Whitlock referred to Bad Bunny as a, quote, poverty pimp, like most drug dealers on his show. Cultural critique. Whitlock described the performance in extreme terms, characterizing it as, quote, birth of a nation for Latino people, and criticizing the content as, quote, gyrating, dancing, drinking, and having sex. Anti-NFL sentiment. Whitlock accused the NFL of pushing a specific social, quote, woke and demonic agenda by selecting the Puerto Rican artist and boycotting Urge. He urged his audience to boycott the Super Bowl over the choice of performer.
You mean the same Jason Whitlock that was mad he couldn't get enjoy Taylor Draw?
Bro. Chill.
The same dude.
Chill.
No,
Chill.
Hey, but y'all,
You can say it.
But y'all feel,
I don't care.
But you feel what I'm saying though. People like Jason Whitlock needs to have every ounce of talking privilege revoked and terminated and thrown in the trash. Like, guys like him just don't need to speak, because it's like, I don't know. How can you claim to be a Christian and let some of the things out your mouth? Let me tell you something. If God walked down on this earth right now, all these so-called Christians, he slapped hell out of every single one of them. He flat out would. He flat out would. Because it's like, I died on the cross and came back on the Sabbath day to see y'all doing what y'all doing. I ain't down for this. I ain't down to come back for this. What are y'all doing? And besides, I mean, I'm gonna say this, and we're gonna move on to the next point. I mean, they put Jesus in jail,
But
but
anyway,
that's a conversation for another day.
but the thing is this: even when Beyonce performed, and she is a cultural icon. She is a cultural icon. They find a way to attack it and call it, oh, it's so woke, bro. Just because you, hey, look, like I said, if you don't like it, turn the damn TV off. I mean, that's the thing. And and the thing is, you had every chance. It's kind of like, look, it's kind of like if the NFL comes on a Sunday, or sports PSP shows come on, and I just so happen to be off, and I broke my leg or something. I'm saying the hell with the NFL. I'm trying to get my guys' ratings up. That's the thing. And if it would have been legitimately 10, maybe 20 million, something like that, then guess what? You would have had a legitimate argument. So the thing is, you would have had a legitimate argument, even if it would have. I don't think it would have ever have broken even. But if you would have had 10, 20, 30 million, and guess what? You would have had yourself something. But it's just time to stop playing illusion. When Beyonce performed, you call it woke. When Kendrick Lamar's song, we don't understand it. When Bad Bunny performed, you don't understand it. When with anybody else, I had one guy tell me that there hasn't been a good Super Bowl show in the last couple years since Prince. I literally like died laughing when I heard that, but that's another story for another day. If you don't like the song, there's other alternatives. When I was younger, you had halftime heat. I turned from the halftime show in order to watch Sunday Night Heat. So you had alternatives. So for you to be
Exactly.
still, you had alternatives. It's just like you having a Burger King and a McDonald's. If you don't like McDonald's, you had a choice to go to Burger King, but you still peeked your head in the McDonald's house, in Ronald McDonald's house, and had to take a peek. And quite frankly, I don't blame him considering all that I saw on that show. But I digress. And it's time, man. Stop calling your uncomfort woke because it's just that you're uncomfortable with it. And what's so funny about this, a lot of the rock groups that are deemed American, they're not from fucking America.
Did you hear the comments from Gene Simmons regarding hip hop and the Hall of Fame?
Again, hip hop, again, what's so funny about the ghetto is rock came from the ghetto. It came from the it came from the backwoods of down south, from guys like Pig Meat Martin, from guys like Chuck Berry, from guys like Muddy Waters and guys like that. That's where it started. So all of that. I'm not ghetto. I can't relate. It's kind of weird because guess what? All of that music that floods the marketplace right about now, it started within poor neighborhoods. Pig
And
Meat Martin.
which rocker does a lot of these all-time rock legends idolize as far as like paving the way for them?
Muddy
Uh,
Waters.
Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah. Muddy Waters,
Muddy
Jimi Hendrix.
Waters, Jimi
I
Hendrix.
even
Yeah.
despite its history, Ike Turner, all those guys. I mean, Howlin' Wolf. It was so
It's
funny about it is a lot of that music, a lot of that rock music, that juke joint music, what they used to call it, because back when we was doing it was considered juke joint music, by the way. That was considered. All of that is coming back. You hear it with the line dancing, and with them fans that you hear a lot of it now. So rock started in black neighborhoods, just like hip hop started in black neighborhoods. So every single genre of music that you ever would want to listen to is is because of a black artist. Ironically, CM Punk song "Look in My Eyes"
black
was
people, the
and
cult of
black
personality.
people
Black
Living
people.
color.
Living Color. They made that song. A lot of the grunge artists that was with Nirvana that started in Seattle, a lot of those artists were black. So let's stop with this whole I wasn't from the ghetto. You're not even the biggest act of all time, if you really want me to be honest, Mr. Simmons. Let's just be real.
As far as with Jason Whitlock, with what he said, calling Bad Bunny poverty pimp, man, get the fuck out of here. Like I said before, man, and while I'll keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it to undisputed world champ, I don't ever want to hear you compare yourself to Jason Whitlock. I don't ever want to hear you compare yourself to Jason Whitlock. That should never be your fear. That should never be your concern. Because Jason Whitlock, to say all these things that I read and I sent you the DM, champ, if people think I'm exaggerating or fabricating, you can just look it up on Google. It's pretty obvious who he is. As Denzel Washington said it best in the movie American Gangster, simple Simon motherfuckers, because that's what you're gonna get from Jason Whitlock anytime when he uses his platform to spew bullshit. Um, as for people, look, if you're not a fan of Bad Bunny and his music, go watch TV, go watch something else. You can watch Hulu, watch Netflix. You can go to watch something else. Go do something else. Hell, watch OnlyFans or find something. There's other alternatives for y'all to find, but instead y'all want to take the time to complain about the Super Bowl. I mean, you said it yourself too, champ. Alternatives. They had alternatives, but instead they want to focus on the Super Bowl. And for President Trump to take the time to watch the Super Bowl, because we saw it. We saw this video of him watching the Super Bowl. Tells us.
Trump has always had some type of weird kind of admiration for Bad Bunny. So when I saw that clip of his little party or whatever, and they were watching the Super Bowl, I wasn't shocked at all because Bad Bunny had worn an outfit or whatnot at like a party or whatnot. Trump saw it and wore the same goddamn outfit at an interview at the White House. So I don't even want to hear his. I don't even want to hear his mouth. I don't even want to hear his mouth. I'm just saying.
There you go. And for Trump to say that his performance was absolutely terrible, nobody buying that. Like I said last week, don't tell me the shit coming from your drawers is chocolate. Don't tell me the sky's blue. Nobody believing in that shit, man. But Bad Bunny, he had a hell of a performance in the Super Bowl. If y'all want to complain or whatever, that's fine. Y'all, but Bad Bunny, hell of a performance.
Where Champ go?
No, he probably too busy focusing on Angel Fernandez, but that's a story for another day.
I'm still laughing about all those OF comments, man. I don't know what's up. What has
look, like
Hey, listen, if you want to blame somebody, why don't you blame Jim Cornette? I thank God for Jim Cornette. I thank God for bringing this man into this world because he's given me the confidence, the liberty to say anything that's on my mind. Champ, I've sent you videos on what he has said about the president.
Yeah,
look. As far as he go, I've spoken my piece on Jason Whitlock. You know how I feel. Jason Whitlock is what would happen if Fat Albert and Radio made a baby.
Ooh, that's nasty. Anyway,
let's move on. Let's move on. But this was one hell of a conversation. Fellas, now time for my favorite subject on the Sports PSP podcast: babyface or heel. Now, for those who may not know what a babyface heel means in wrestling language, babyface is a good guy, heel is a bad guy, a tweener is someone in between babyface or heel. The first person regarding for babyface or heel, Sean Taylor.
Babyface.
Easy.
Yes, especially with all the criticism that he received from Colin Cowherd.
Yes.
And remember how it looked and how the people portrayed Sean Taylor. But Sean Taylor, if you listen, and again, that's one of the reasons why I became a Washington Commanders fan, because of Sean Taylor. Anytime when I say I became a fan because of him, I don't get any flack. I don't get any criticism. It was sad that his career was cut short at the age of 24. The man had a lot to look forward to, not just with football, but also with his family, his wife, his kids. If you just listen to some of his former players from Washington and Miami, Clint Portis, Santana Moss, Ryan Clark, Greg Olson, Jeremy Shockey, they love Sean Taylor. Yeah. and he was a hell of a safety.
Yeah.
Had it not been for his death, I think he could have been the greatest to ever do it because he had size. Remember that Pro Bowl hit that he had?
On Brian Moorman, the punter.
That will be indelibly etched in everybody's mind, man. That was what the Pro Bowl was versus where it is. That personified where it was versus what it is today.
And helped Washington back in 2005 to win a playoff game under the Daniel Snyder stewardship.
Yeah, with Joe
And
Hill.
Sean Taylor, man, I miss him, man. I just miss him. I just miss what he was as a football player. Man, that's gonna be one of the to me that's like one of the biggest what ifs. What if Sean Taylor had it not been for his death? He could have been what could have been, what should have been, because he was on his way to becoming one of the greatest safeties to ever do it. I mean, of course, Brian Dawkins, Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Sean Taylor had not been for his death would definitely be in that conversation with greatest safety of all time. Not saying he would have been the greatest, but he definitely would have been in that conversation. And let's not forget what he was for the Miami Hurricanes when they won that national championship. When he was like, I think, Chip, as a freshman,
Yeah, he didn't have a big part in that national.
he
championship.
didn't have a big part of
But
it. He had a little bit.
he definitely the very next year when that graduating class, he was a big part of that secondary, and he was a big part of that championship of that team that was trying to go back to back. The reason why I always say he's a babyface is because a lot of the media will love to shit on your name, and forgive me for saying that. They love to shit on people's names. And then when it comes out that it was inaccurate and not who he was, then the apologies aren't as loud as the criticism. The only problem that I ever really seen with Sean Taylor was, the whole spitting incident with Michael Pittman. That was the only kind of thing that you really looked at and say, hey man, you could have did handle that a little bit better. And I know youth is not an excuse as you say, but you make a lot of mistakes when you're young. But outside of that, hell of a ball player, hell of a family man. You talked about how, a lot of his brothers and sisters went to foster homes and he was able to get the family back together. And what's so funny about well, it's not funny, it's quite fucking sad, to be honest with you, is because the first thing that people did when that young man passed away is they wanted to make it gang related so damn bad.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to be gang related and stuff like that. And then nobody came out. Even the great Michael Wilbon, who I have great respect for, he didn't come out and he didn't rescind statements. And this is a guy that, Michael Wilbon was a guy who was with the late great John Thompson when he went to talk to Rayful Edmond about Alonzo Mourning, because remember back in the day, Alonzo Mourning, we used to be real cool with Rayful Edmond. If you don't know who Rayful Edmond is, please go look him up. But he was real cool with Rayful Edmond. They was like best friends. But John Thompson had to go to Rayful Edmond and tell him to stay away from his player. He had a bright future. That's how much respect Michael Wilbon had. He wasn't just one of these journalists that was just out there because of a name. He was actually getting the scoop. He covered that Georgetown team for a hell of a long time. Covered John Thompson for a long time. But for a lot of the media to come out and say that, and then not run it back and say we apologize for that. We sorry about making it gang related and trying to make it gang related and stuff like that. And a lot of it had to do with him being from the U and
As you
everybody,
always say, the
the
Notre
bad
Dame
boy,
versus Miami, Catholics versus
versus convict.
convicts.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of, there was still a lot of stigma from the U, even from back. And the thing is, the U had changed. What people don't understand is the new University of Miami. not the old one. You know, back in the 80s, it was a lot of, trouble in Miami. 80s and early 90s, there was a lot of trouble in Miami. If you go back and look at the second documentary of the U, those guys were exact the opposite. He was like, bro, we was going to class, we was graduating, we was trying to do stuff, we was trying to do stuff completely the opposite of what the former Miami teams do. Now we looked up to those guys, but we was trying to do things completely the opposite. So they was trying to do things differently. So for that to come out, nobody ever apologized about it. I think that's a sad world that we live in, and apologies are always quiet. They're never as loud as the criticism. But John Taylor, and you should hear how his daughter talks about him right now.
Yeah.
Hear how his daughter talks about him right now. Um, Babyface, man. Like I said, that one incident with Michael Pittman. All right, cool. Everybody makes mistakes. But the reason I label him a babyface, one of the main reasons why I label him a babyface, is because of how bad the media crapped on him during his death, and they never walked it back. But like I said, that's the media for you. They don't. It's not important for them to be accurate. I believe it's important for them to be right. There's a difference between being accurate and being right. Being accurate is when you got all your facts straight, you got all of your story right, you got everything in a bubble. Being right is just when you want to put out a narrative just because it's a popular narrative. And I believe in that situation, it was important that they were right rather than getting their facts straight. And that's something that I will always hold against the mainstream media. And I think that was one of the downfalls of mainstream media was when that happened. But rest in peace to the late great Sean Taylor, hell of a football player, hell of a man. His daughter speaks very, very highly of it. And look, man, as a girl, BRF, you know this, man. You know this for a fact. For you to have been dead for so many years, and for your daughter to still speak highly of it, that's the greatest reward any man who's a girl dad could ever have. My father
Mm-hmm.
talks about that every single day. So yeah,
BRF.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's babyface. I mean, this isn't even a discussion. No, I was going through I'm going through Pro Football Reference right here, and I'm looking at Sean Taylor, and you could just kind of get a sense. Like his rookie year was good in '04. He finished fourth in defensive rookie of the year voting, and '05 he had another good year. But 2006, like you could really see like what he was about to become. Like 100, he only had one interception, but I mean he had seven pass defense, three forced fumbles, 114 tackles, and in 2007, like before he died, like he was having arguably one of the greater safety seasons we had seen in a while. Like, yeah, he had like 41 tackles, but that dude already had five interceptions, and he did all that in 9 games. Five
He had good
interceptions, and
hands. He
yeah,
also had very good hands.
he always had an amazing set of hands. Like he had amazing ball skills. Like
yeah,
Sean Taylor was the type of athlete at the University of Miami. He could play corner and he could play safety. That's the type of athlete Sean Taylor was before he ultimately did the right thing with his size, being 220, being 226, 230 pounds, and just ultimately moving to free safety. Like that was the right move. Like he needed to be a free safety at his size, but with his ball skills. And just you knew what he was about to be, and then December losing his life like that. I mean, I feel like it's one of the more tragic stories over the last really of the 21st century in terms of sports, as far as what Sean Taylor was starting to turn into, and how we had a Hall of Fame career, a possible top five safety in the history of the sport, ripped away from us so tragically like that. Like just and Champ was talking about it. Like his like one of the cooler things I've seen recently was I can't like they were I can't remember what show it was, but it was Ocho Cinco and Ryan
Oh yeah, I'm
Clark,
watching it right now.
and they
Inside
would
the
kind of
NFL,
do
he's
yeah,
handing him.
and they were doing it was inside the NFL, and they were doing the Secret Santa, and Chad Johnson was Ryan Clark's Secret Santa, and Chad Johnson gave him a painted portrait of Ryan Clark and Sean Taylor. And I thought and something like that as a football fan should have hit everybody in the fields, because like those Miami Hurricane years, like that '02 Miami squad that beat Nebraska in the national championship game, like Andre Johnson, Sean Taylor, Antrell Roll, Philip Buchanan, Bryant McKinney, like Kellen Winslow Jr., like just like one like that assembly of just talents on that squad, like Frank Gore, Willis McGahee, um, just that one of the greatest collections of just sheer talents we've ever seen in college football. And like we were, that was like our teenage, early adult years, like growing up with that Miami Hurricane squad, and then a lot of them going into the pros and ultimately becoming the pros. A lot of them becoming like really really good pros. Some of them becoming Hall of Fame pros. But like, yeah, Sean Taylor, I feel like would have gone down as a top 3 to 5 safety ever, because the trajectory when is in his '06 and his '07 seasons before he was shot and killed, that trajectory was starting to head that way. And just everything, his ability to play center field, his hands, his tackling, sure, always a sure tackler. One of the biggest hitters we've ever seen. It's what does it for a lot of us when it comes to Sean Taylor is just how his family talked about him, how his teammates talked about him. You could just tell, you could tell the growth and the maturity and the type of man he was becoming, especially, and especially like having his daughter. Like you could just tell what he was starting to become, and you could just see it. And then to have it just ripped away like that is just is so unfortunate and so tragic. But I mean, just going back, being a football fans, and still being able to have his college highlights and his pro highlights, is one of those. It's kind of one of those things you want to frame into a time capsule of sports, and you just want to keep it, because we all know what type of athlete and we all know what type of player Sean Taylor was about to be. So rest in peace to the great Sean Taylor. It was amazing watching that man play and do his thing. And hey, even not being a Washington Commanders fan, one of my favorite, they ultimately, their defense was one of my favorite units to watch because of
Him, London
Sean
Fletcher,
Taylor, and London Fletcher and Champ Bailey,
Bailey,
and
Brian Clark as well
Ryan,
for a little
yeah,
bit.
and Ryan Clark as well, because he was really starting to come into his own in Washington before he went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, man, just that was one of my favorite units to watch. So yeah, man, rest in peace to Sean Taylor, definite babyface. And it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see, in my opinion, the top 5 safety of all time career just blossom. I mean, it's just so unfortunate.
Yeah, man, shame, but hearts and prayers, and but gone, but never forgotten.
Amen to that.
This one is a pretty baby face as a head coach, Popovich.
Oh yeah,
Babyface.
easy.
Easily military man and veteran. He may not have. I love how he does the interviews with the media, is particularly with him and the late great Craig Sager. God rest his soul.
Hmm.
I always love the interviews that he did with Craig Sager and Popovich. I love how he attacks President Trump. I'm sorry, when Popovich talks his talk about President Trump and how he talks about this world and this society. You all right, BRF?
Oh no, man! I'm just no, you know me, I'm a Russ head, and I'm just looking at SmackDown right now, and they're just announcing some of the matches for next week.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, they gonna have some. Yeah, man, they trying to turn up a
Elimination
little bit.
Chamber.
They got some, huh?
Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, they're announcing they announced the next men's qualifying match for next week. It's Damian Priest, Carmelo Hayes, and Trick Williams in a triple threat for an elimination chamber spot. And if you watch
Mm.
if you watched NXT, you know the history that Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams have. So I'm kind of liking that they're about to revisit that rivalry a little bit. It's pretty sweet.
Yes, indeed.
Pretty interesting. But back to Popovich, man, babyface. I mean, he has championships. You can make an argument he's the greatest head coach, even though you can argue Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach, Greg Popovich belongs in that conversation. The reason why, champ, I
Mm.
have him more of a babyface compared to Phil Jackson is because he allows people to say what's on their mind. Phil Jackson was like keep politics, keep stuff out of sports. You don't hear that with Popovich. Whether you agree or disagree, Popovich is going to allow you to express yourself. Just like yourself, champ, he comes from a military background. Popovich is no nonsense. And he is adamant and persistent. And he's all about unity. And I just love how joyful he is, particularly with Craig Sager, God rest his soul. Love Craig Sager, love the outfits. I thought KG at times was a little too hard on Craig Sager, but Popovich, man, what more could you ask? And him still being around the Spurs organization and also helping out Becky Hammond as well too, as
Yes.
far as becoming a coach. And you look at his coaching tree, Budenholzer. You look at Ime Udoka, Becky Hammond. Yeah, there's a lot of good players, and also too with the Spurs organization, they also got some international players such as Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili.
Yeah.
And the Spurs way, how the way they play basketball. The Spurs are were the New England Patriots of basketball. That's what they were.
Yes, indeed.
And when I look at Popovich and I look at his leadership, and like I said, I'll say it again. I don't give a damn if them Trump supporters get mad at me. The way he calls out Trump, hey, he my guy. So for me, it's pretty obvious for me. If y'all say he ain't a babyface, I don't know what the hell wrong with you, but he's a babyface. Ultimate babyface.
Yes. Ultimate baby face, man. I'll never forget the time where, I remember Shaq was playing for the Phoenix Suns, man. And like
Oh, when he joked him
no, when
with the
he
free
Shaq was playing for
throws,
the Phoenix Suns and
the hacker shack.
and then he hit. I'm like,
Yeah.
Shaq got fouled like the first 5 minutes. He said, "I never forget the comments." And said, "Damn, they already hacking the Shaq." He's like, "No, that's great." So that was pretty good, man. I never forget doing the games, man. I want some nasty, and then you saw the memes. Back when memes were very very possible, were very very popular. You can't spell dynasty without nasty. So uh, he was very very colorful on the sidelines, man. Regardless of him portraying himself as this, steel face type of guy. You knew that he was very, very colorful. He had the personality. And look, he was an underdog story. Remember, he was at first general manager of the San Antonio
Tony
Spurs
Spurs, yeah.
before he fired the coach, and then he became the coach. Remember, he almost got fired. So, and then he won that first championship. And even after that first championship, people were saying it was a fluke. If there was any organizations that revolutionized bringing in the overseas and European players, there had to be the Chicago Bulls and San Antonio Spurs, because when you think about Tony Kukoc, and then you think about Manu Ginobili, you think about Tony Parker, you think about Victor Wembanyama, you think about Boris Diaw,
Yeah.
Tiago Splinter, you think about all of those guys,
Marco Bellinelli.
yes, all those guys were overseas players. So look, the Spurs were ahead of their time with the overseas, but they were ahead of their time. They was drafting these guys tops. They were way much ahead of their time. So before it became popular, the Spurs and the Bulls were already ahead of the game. Oh, and the Lakers as well. Remember, Ronnie Divac, he was from Yugoslavia.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you think about guys who were discovering their overseas guys before that. The Lakers, the Bulls, and especially the Spurs come to mind. The Spurs in particular. Popovich, I think, is better than Phil Jackson because he was able to build teams. He was able to retool those teams. He was able to, build with the San Antonio, the first part of it. He won with the Twin Towers, the first and the second championship, and then on the back end of it, He was able to bring in a lot of other utility players to complement Tim Duncan. He was able to bring in, Kawhi Leonard. He was able to bring in Boris Diaw. He was able to bring in Steven Jackson in free agency. He was able to bring in a lot of other guys. So he won by building the team, not just being a beneficiary of a team that is put together. When you think about the teams that Phil Jackson had, there were teams that were already put together, with the exception of the last two championships. When you think about his first three championships with the with the Chicago Bulls, that team was already built. They just needed somebody to get them over the top.
Yeah.
1-6. When you think about at the beginning for my Los Angeles Lakers, glad to have him. But the thing is, that team was already built. Free agency, Shaquille O'Neal, Nick Van Exel, drafted Nick Van Exel, drafted Eddie Jones, drafted Kobe Bryant, brought in Dennis Rodman in free agency. And people don't like to acknowledge this. Although Phil was a hell of a coach, he was the beneficiary first, especially during them first 9 championships. The first 9 championships that he won. Phil Jackson, hell of a coach. But he also was the beneficiary of having the 2 greatest general managers of arguably of all time.
And Jerry Krause and Jerry West,
the late great Jerry Krause and the late great Jerry West. So you got to think about that.
And to a lesser extent, Mitch Kupchak. We can't disregard Mitch Kupchak.
Mitch Kupchak, because he was able to pull off that hell of a trade for Pau Gasol, not to mention, drafted Andrew Bynum and was able to bring Metta World Peace to town. So he was able to do a lot of great things. So you were the coaching guru, but at the same time, you were not the talent scout, and you were not able to build teams from the ground up. You had to come in with a product that's already finished. That's part of the reason why he didn't want to return to Chicago at the end of it, because more than likely they were going to be rebuilding. And you saw what happened. He went there and won a championship with Los Angeles with a team that was already built. Like I stated, he couldn't build teams. Greg Popovich was able to build teams. And in the midst of him rebuilding, he was able to keep the roster competitive every single year. So Greg Popovich, man, I admire him a lot. Started from a Division III school, Coach of the Year multiple times. He often talks about that. If you would have told me that I would have came from a Division II, Division III school to end up being Coach of the Year, I'd have called you a liar. Beat some of the greatest teams of all time in the finals, on the way to the finals. Beat them. Was able to overcome the Shaq and Kobe Lakers in order to win his second title on the last leg of David Robinson. Was able to derail what would have been a dynasty with the Bad Boy Pistons Part 2. Was able to overcome a team from New Jersey, the New Jersey Nets, with Kmart Kenyon Martin and Jason Kidd. Was
Trey
able
Kittles,
to be,
Keith Van Horn, yeah.
yes, was able to overcome arguably one of the greatest teams ever put together in the new generation, that being the 2014 Miami Heat. I mean,
And let's not forget the Detroit Pistons in that 04-05 finals.
Yeah, I brought up the Bad Boys Part 2.
Okay.
Part 2.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good, man. There's no apologies needed. You're looking out for me. You gotta,
Mhm.
you're looking out for your people.
But yeah, man, Babyface, he
Babyface.
fits that mold. And besides, man, he carries himself and his coaching tree. You look at the coaches that have come from Greg Popovich's coaching tree that have flourished.
Yeah. And only at the Spurs could the first woman to ever coach an NBA game happen, and that was Becky Hammon. Even NBA players speak on highly about Becky Hammon and how she could become an NBA coach one day. Ironically, the Las Vegas Aces, they are from their original owners was San Antonio Spurs. They just end up moving to Las Vegas. So if you really look at the ball movement at the Las Vegas Aces do, Asia Wilson is essentially their Tim Duncan. So, except, on the women's side, she is the centerpiece of that team. So when you think about Greg Popovich, You think about an honorable man who just so happens to coach, not a coach who's an honorable man. So that's just how it goes with Red Pop. And I'm glad that he speaks out on a lot of the social issues. And with him being in the military background, and you can understand why he would very much take issues with our seating commander in chief about some of his views, especially when he's done something that he never did in that service country in a capacity that only a select few can. So you see why he would take issue with that. I mean, at times I take issue with a lot of things because guess what? I served. I actually got out there, and it's a volunteer army, and during a time where everything was going haywire from 2000, from the two in the 2000s, where everything was at its worst. Yes, you had young men like myself who went out there and put it all on the line. So yeah, I understand exactly why Greg Popovich would look at him and say, "Hey," especially when you have a lot of our former presidents who were generals, Dwight Eisenhower, you know, him being one of the few. Remember, even President Bush, he was an Air Force reservist at one point. So when you think about that, you see why he has so much to say about him. And quite frankly, as a former vet, as a current veteran, I don't blame him for a lot of the things that he said. But Greg Popovich, 5 championships. 5 championships don't necessarily tell the story. The fact that you was able to keep a team in the playoff relevant in championship contention nearly every single year for over 20 years, you made the playoffs. 20 long years. 20 long years. You was able to keep your team in contention without bringing in a lot of big time free agents, if you really want me to be honest. They would bring in the utility free agents. They would bring in the Mario Ellies. They would bring in the Sean Elliott's. They would bring in, Avery Johnson, guys like
Yes.
that. But there was never the only big time free agent that they had that I can personally think of is when they had that 67 and 10 year, or the 67 and 15 year when they had LaMarcus
It's
Aldridge.
Aldridge.
Yeah, that was the biggest free agent acquisition. Usually, when you see teams that are relevant like that, they are able to bring in free agents. If they're not able to draft well, they're able to bring in free agents.
Well, it was easier to bring in LaMarcus because he wanted to put himself in the best position possible to compete for a championship. And on top of that, he's from Texas.
Yeah,
So that does help. He used to
Mhm.
play, I believe, at the University of Texas.
That's right.
And when I think with Popovich, again, he's about team, he's about results, he's about his business, and he's all about unity. And he has integrity. That's the beauty of Popovich. And I just think that's why I call him a babyface. BRF.
I mean, yeah, there's really not too much more to add to Popovich being a babyface because he's definitely a babyface. But yeah, I think I love the New England Patriots comparison when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs because they won in such similar fashions. Like not just from like the X's and O's standpoint, with the focus being on the defensive side of the ball, but just like in the times in which you were doing it. Like we give the New England Patriots so much credit for winning, like at a time as far as like the salary cap, when rosters would turn over like clockwork on a yearly basis, but yet still being able to kind of build around your core guys, which honestly the only core guy that Bill Belichick had was pretty much Tom Brady. Like the common denominator of all those teams was him and Brady being a battery. With the San Antonio Spurs, it was him and Tim Duncan. Like whether it was him and like David Robinson like winning those first 2 titles before David Robinson retired, and then you built that core as far as like Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. Um, it's just a matter of understanding your important pieces, but being able to adapt and build around them, but still keep the same level of consistency, the same level of just being able to compete night in and night out, and being able to contend for championships year in and year out, and to be able to basically like 5 in the 20-year stretch, which is basically one every 4 years. I mean, that just speaks to the players that you're bringing in, it speaks to Popovich as a coach. Because in my opinion, I think he is the greatest X's and O's coach in the history of the league. I think he's the greatest. I just look at it from a standpoint of just being able to coach players, basically coming in and out of a revolving door and still being able to maintain a high level of play regardless of what your rosters is. And that's also a shout out to the to that front office, like with a gentleman like RC Buford operating in the front office, being able to work with Greg Popovich and being able to identify talent, to acquire that talent, and being able to bring that talent in and mold with Popovich in his scheme to be able to go out and win night in and night out. But Greg Popovich is such a good man in terms of just his views, his integrity, his mentality. Just he doesn't change for anybody because he doesn't have to change for everybody because he already knows what type of man he is, and we know what type of man he is. We know how good of a guy he already is, so he doesn't need to change for anybody. Like when his wife passed away, we all felt for him. Like we all felt for him because we know what type of man, we know what type of guy he is. We know what type of being fans. We all felt for him. We all when his wife passed away, we all had a little spot kind of like ripped away. And so I feel like the whole NBA world was able to kind of center itself and surround him with all the love that he deserved at the time because we know what type of man he is. So it's just one of those things where it's like now now he's just kind of enjoying his life after basketball, and deservedly so. If anybody deserves it, it's him because I mean he's had his health problems and everything. But I mean, how many he deserves? Like all, like I said, I personally have him as the greatest coach in the history of the league, and I think on top of that, yeah, I think Champ said it best. He's you can't ask for nothing more than that from a guy like Greg Popovich. So he's most definitely a babyface.
All right, last one. I think it's pretty obvious for Babyface. Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yes. Uh,
Only remember
Oh yes,
93
sir.
94
Yes, sir.
became the
Yes,
first
sir.
player to win MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, win the championship, and Finals MVP. His post moves, his footwork. Remember, Hakeem Olajuwon, for those who may not know, used to play soccer back in the day. I remember, didn't he play basketball? He was on some podcast or whatever with Kevin Durant, and he didn't start playing basketball until high school, probably around his junior or senior year. But the footwork, the fadeaway shot that he had, let's not forget the 94-95 Houston Rockets championship run. We keep talking about Dirk and that championship run the Dallas Mavericks had, but 94-95, you went up against the Houston Rockets, Utah Jazz, the Phoenix Suns, the year when David Robinson won the 94-95 MVP. And I think Kenny Smith said it was personal because when Hakeem Olajuwon saw David Robinson win the MVP, when the year before Hakeem won it, Hakeem kind of took it personal. And man, he was putting them them moves, them footwork moves. And let's not forget him winning the finals against Shaq in Shaq's third season. Hakeem Olajuwon, even though the sky hook to me is the most unstoppable move, but the most unbelievable move is the dream shake. Hakeem's footwork is something to behold, man. Incredible footwork for a guy his size. He had moves, guard moves at 7 feet, whatever. Off the court, of course, he is a devoted Muslim. He has even criticized the president himself. Um, and also too in the off season, still lives in Houston. Takes time to help out big men, learn how to play within the post. Also worked out with Kobe Bryant, rest his soul. Also worked out with LeBron James. Even tried to help out Dwight Howard. So when I look at Akeem Olajuwon, just his presence, and again how he was at the University of Houston too. I gotta say, Babyface. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, Babyface, man. Like I said, that people talk about that Dirk, and I said it before, and I say it again, man. People talk about Dirk and that 2011, that Akeem Olajuwon 94-95 season, coming from a six seed, a six
Yes.
seed, a six seed. Remember, they didn't trade for Clyde Drexler until the middle of the season because they traded Jim Thorpe for him. So they didn't trade for him until they damn near had a losing record at that point in time. Rudy Donovan was like, "This ain't working. I got to get something going." And remember, they didn't. A lot of guys didn't want Clyde on that team. Remember, Robert Horry. I never forget. I saw the Clutch City documentary. You know, he yelled at him one time like, "Hey, baby, we got to get back." And he walked over to him and said, "Don't you ever blank, blank, blank." Yeah, they did not like each other on that team. Other than that, other than Hakeem wanted him on the team. A lot of guys didn't want him there. You know, Jim Thorpe was their dude. But for them to, I've said it before and I'll say it again, for them to overcome Charles Barkley and the Phoenix Suns, Karl Malone and John Stockton, David Robinson and Dennis Rodman, at that time was one of the best defensive teams in the league. And then you go and chase Shaq and Penny, and then you sweep them.
Yes. And
And
throughout the postseason, the 95 postseason, Olajuwon averaged 33 points, 10.3 rebounds, and nearly 3 blocks.
yes, not to mention, I never forget, he played the Ramadan game. Remember,
Yes.
you know, if y'all know anything about how the Muslim culture is, Ramadan, you can't drink or eat anything until the sun goes back down. And he played an afternoon game during the middle of Ramadan. And if you look, I'm just gonna be real. I've been an athlete before. I've been a boxer. I've been an offensive line. Hell, I even was a goalie when it came to street hockey. If you ain't ate before a game, that's how come they give you the pregame meal. So you can have some energy out there. That's why they give you the pregame meal. So you can actually have some energy. If you running on fumes, you're not going to be very useful. For him to have one of his greatest games is nothing short of amazing. Not to mention, one of the few, I think he's one of the few guys in the history of the NBA that has a quadruple double. He has a quadruple double. So, and look, he's more than just an offensive presence. I don't know what they used to call Houston back in the day. This was before the Golden State Warriors. They called them small ball with a big problem. And that big problem was Hakeem Olajuwon. And I'll never forget something that Phil Jackson even said. Well, they said he said, "Thank God that those guys never made it out of the West when we was at our peak. Because I don't know how the hell I would deal with that big monster in the middle." Because remember, Phil didn't like the double team. Phil didn't like the double team. And it would have been interesting to see what Bill Cartwright or either Luke Longley would have did against Hakeem Olajuwon. Probably not much. So you probably would have had to put Dennis Rodman on it. And people don't understand that David Robinson, you faced the front court of David Robinson, who's one of the best defensive centers ever to be in the league, and you faced David Robinson. That team's cornerstone was defense, and you still could not beat. He still could not contest with him. So that was amazing, man. That 94-95 season, that was better than Dirk's season. You really want me to be honest with you? Not just because of them coming from a six seed, it's because they had to come from behind in that Phoenix Sun series. Remember, they had to come from behind 3-1. They came from behind from 3-1. And they
Yeah.
did the same thing the year before with the kiss of. I remember the kiss of death game. Mario Elliott, the kiss of death game. Clutch City was one of those teams where it was like lightning in a bottle. And unfortunately, man, unfortunately, I'll say, much like how the Golden State Warriors is now, you're trying to retool it so quick so you can keep something on. I believe that's why come it went down so quickly. You know, I really believe that had they retooled it in a way that was similar to what it was, where you have two big scores, you have the first two options, then you have the other utility players, the rotational players, that would have been a lot better. I think Robert Orr said it best. If we would have traded to get Kevin Willis and Eddie House, I think we would have been a lot better off. Because when you have Shaq, Hakeem, and Clyde Drexler, Clyde Drexler, excuse me, that's too many cooks in the kitchen as far as scoring was concerned. We needed some Doberman. We needed some dogs on defense to help out Akeem on the defensive side of the ball. We didn't need another scorer in the form of Charles Barkley. Now, to their credit, they made it to the Western Conference Finals. Unfortunately, they lost out to the Utah Jazz in both years. But Hakeem in that 94-95 season, better than Dirk, hands down. Like I said, you're coming from a 6 seed. I mean, that team barely had a winning record going down the stretch. You make a desperation trade in order to get better.
And you
You
came
make
back from a 3-1 deficit against the Suns, who a couple years they were in the NBA Finals.
Yes, they did. They did that 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
They did that 2 years in a row. Like I said, the kiss of death game when Mario Ellie he hit the shot and kissed the crowd goodbye. So that was a run for the ages. And hey, I know Hakeem Olajuwon gets a lot of credit for the 94-95 season, but I got to give him and Ralph Sampson a lot of credit for beating my Lakers in the Western Conference Finals in '86.
The year when they advanced to the finals and then
When the
lost
year
to the Celtics.
Celtics, yes, his
Yeah,
him
you go.
the
Him
original
and
Twin Towers.
yep, the Twin Towers. Yeah.
So yeah, I got to give him a hell of a lot of credit because he was great even back then. So
Well, he was
man,
great coming out of the University of Houston.
yeah, he was great at the University of Houston. Him, Clyde Drexler, Benny Anders, all of those guys, man, they were spectacular, man. It was I never forget. They said coming into Houston, it's like coming to the landing strip. It was dunks all day long. It was dunks all day long, man. So babyface and magnificent player, magnificent man.
All right, BRF, you're up next, and I don't know what's going on. There's somebody doing laundry or something.
Nah, I think it was. I think it might have been like my sister. It might have been my sister going on. The door was going on.
Okay.
But yeah, nah, he's a baby. But nah, he's a baby face now. I appreciate Champ bringing up University of Houston, man. Phi Slamma Jamma, man. Shout out to Phi Slamma Jamma. I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
Champ bringing up University of Houston. Um, but yeah, he's a baby face. Yeah, bringing up y'all talking about the quadruple double. Yeah, Hakeem got the third one ever, 1990, 18 points, 10 assists, 16 rebounds, 11 blocks.
Damn.
Whew, so yeah, and it's crazy. David Robinson got the next one after that, and the closest we've gotten to that since was Josh Giddey last year against the Lakers. It was like 15 points, 17 assists, 10 rebounds, and 8 steals. That's close as we've gotten to a quadruple double since. So that tells you how hard it is to get one of those. But yeah, Hakeem Olajuwon, in my opinion, I think it's the greatest two-way player in the history of the league. When you talk about his peak in terms of how like his offensive game, what he became as an offensive player, but then his defense and what he brought to the defensive side, the defensive end of the court. I personally think he's the greatest two-way player ever. But there are other guys you could put in that conversation as well. I think in terms of two-way players, you could put Mike in that conversation. You could put Kareem in that conversation. There are other guys you could put in that conversation as far as like being the greatest two-way players ever. I personally think it's Akeem, but like his philanthropy, just I don't know. There's really nothing bad. With a lot of guys like him, there's nothing bad that you can really say about a guy like Hakeem Olajuwon. And then just like his influence and just his contributions to the game as far as like, working with some of the next generation of guys, like, just working. Yeah, you brought him up working with Braun and working with Kobe. I still feel like his notable one was working with Dwight, because I think Dwight had hit a point in his career where he was kind of like he was basically a one trick pony on offense, because I mean all he was doing was pretty much dunking. Like he really didn't have the footwork mastered as far as like being able to score in the post and all that. He's pretty much a one trick pony, and Hakeem helped his game offensively from that standpoint, working on his footwork, being able to do more as far as like touch around the rim and all that other stuff, and just not relying on the dunk to really score. So Hakeem really has really done a lot as far as his contributions and his influence to the game, and not to mention like yeah, like peak Hakeem Olajuwon is probably one of the greatest players we're probably ever going to see. Just like like I mean, it's like how like it's almost unheard of when you have a center, particularly with Hakeem playing at like I think Hakeem played at like 7'1", and like a guy that's capable of like like with the triple double, we brought up the quadruple double. A guy that can give you 30 points, 15 rebounds, can give you five, 4 to 5 assists, but then can turn around and give you like 4 to 5 blocks a game. Like the dude was just on another level, and it's why he's in the Hall of Fame. Why he's honestly, in my opinion, should be in a consensus top 10 player of all time, in my opinion. And I appreciate the fact that we're using our platform on Babyface Hill segment. I appreciated that we're using this platform to give a guy like Hakeem Olajuwon his flowers. So he definitely deserves all the shout outs that we're giving him. And like I have him in my top 10 of all time. So yeah, but yeah, nah, he just for all of his contributions to the game, his influence and all that. Yeah, he's a baby face.
Yeah, obviously, that no doubt about it, babyface. Fellas, let's just try to wrap up these last few subjects real quick. Regarding Joey Porter. Joey Porter Sr. was on Cameron Hayward's podcast, and he had this to say about Ben Roethlisberger. During his time with the Pittsburgh Steelers from 2004 2006, he said, "quote Seven definitely broke the brotherhood. The shit that Seven did that we don't talk about is crazy. Out of anybody, he should never grab a microphone and really talk about Steelers business, because if we're talking about Steelers business, his ass is foul of all foul. Like the shit that he did is foul of all foul. He's not a good teammate. Won a Super Bowl with him, but the person, he's just not a good teammate. Like he knows that. Anybody in the Steeler building knows that. But we protected him because I've only won one Super Bowl, and that was my quarterback. So do I love my quarterback? Yeah. But is he a good person? No. And when asked why he felt Roethlisberger was a bad teammate, Porter mentioned that Roethlisberger did not sign autographs for teammates' family members during his rookie season. Porter, a team captain at the time, decided to have a meeting with Roethlisberger after he specifically declined to sign something for defensive end Aaron Smith. Porter goes even further. Who the hell is too cool to sign for your teammate? Alluding to former teammate and Hall of Fame running back Jerome Bettis and his constant willingness to do things for teammates and fans. I also looked at it like this. Look at the team when Joey was a captain, when Jerome was a captain, when Heinz Ward was a captain. You heard nothing in the locker room. Captains have to do captain shit, right? We voted to be captains. You had to be voted in. He came in an era where he just gave you a seat because if he wasn't a captain, he wasn't a captain, he probably would have a hissy fit, but nobody's going to vote for him as a captain because he didn't have no captain qualities. And look, man, I will say this. I don't know what's going on, but to me, it seems like people are really paying attention to my content because I said last week regarding the Hall of Fame, if you're going to keep Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame because of their character, whether on or off the football field, I mentioned, are you going to do the same thing with Ben Roethlisberger? Because next year he's going to be eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And based on the Pro Football Hall of Fame, based on his merit, yes, he belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But let's keep in mind them off the field issues, Lake Tahoe, Nevada, and Milledgeville, Georgia, in which he was accused of sexual assault. Now, in 2010, regarding the one in Milledgeville, Georgia, he was suspended for 4 games. It was previously 6, but it was reduced to 4. And to your point, champ, you mentioned the following year, thank God, Ben Roethlisberger, the following year, the NFL lockout,
Yeah,
because you mentioned that Pittsburgh, they was looking to move on from Ben
yeah,
Roethlisberger.
they was about to trade him to Arizona. They was about to trade him and said they was about to trade him to Arizona.
So
Uh, he wasn't the only one that said, that said that. Remember, him and House Ward had some issues going on. You
Yeah,
know,
Hines Ward, and Hines Ward is known as a consummate professional.
yeah. So him and House Ward had some things going on, and not to mention, man, he wasn't. I mean, when Joey Porter came out, when guys come out and say that you're right, that's a whole other thing. Because, like I always say, everybody ain't lying. So since then, the players that have come out and said something has been, let me see, Mason Rudolph, who's currently still on the team, Patrick Queen, Mike Adams, and Mike Mitchell, and KJ Green. So everybody ain't lying, especially when you talk about a coach. And Joy Porter, in closing, brought up a valid point. How the hell you gonna sit around here and talk about a coach who the best days that happened to you happened under his watch? Remember, although Ben Roethlisberger won a Super Bowl with his first couple years, it wasn't because of him.
It was because of the defense
It was
primarily.
because
He didn't even play that well in that first Super Bowl.
because of the defense and that
Right.
and when you really look at him statistically, especially under Bill Cowher, those first couple years, it was atrocious to say the least. Now the eye test will tell you something different. But the thing is, during his first couple years, up under Bill Cowher, remember, he 11 interceptions his first year, 9 his second year, 23 his third year. Mike Tomlin comes in 2007, 32 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. Remember, he had his first 5,000-yard season in 2018 under Mike Tomlin. He had two of his greatest seasons, 2014, which he threw for almost 5,000, and then 2018, which he threw for 5,000. Each one of those, his stats were progressively better under Cowher than they were under Mike Tomlin than they were under Cowher. And even when he was bad to the fullest extent of bad in the 2020 year, because the Pittsburgh Steelers, we all knew they was on the downhill slide. We all knew they might have went 12-3, 12-4, but we all knew that team was going to hit a wall eventually.
Yeah.
They still was there. I'm glad Joey Porter said something. When Joey Porter say things, people speak. And not only was he a player on that team, people always think about that he was also a coach for that team.
He was. He was a good football player during his time in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I always say Pittsburgh, when it comes to Pittsburgh, I will always say it's the system, not the linebackers. Because when you think about that system, when you think about those linebackers that they had with Joey Porter, it was Joey Porter, Jason Gildon, James Ferrier, Larry Foote, and Kendrell Bell from my Georgia Bulldogs. That was one of the best linebacker coaches you ever want to see. But he was also a coach. So for somebody to play with you and also coach that team, they know the ins and out of that organization. They know the ins and out of you. So, and the thing is, why would you come out and say something about your former coach anyway? I mean, if anything, unless it was just something egregious that he did. It's never been anything egregious that Mike Tomlin has did.
Well, Ben, right now, obviously, he's doing what we're doing as podcasting, and Ben's entitled to his opinion. But just because he's entitled to his opinion, does that make him necessarily right? No.
I mean,
But do you think with these comments from Joey Porter, as well as other comments from Ben Champ, do you think that will keep Ben out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
the thing is, he has to wait at least 2 to 3 years. The thing is this.
No, he's next year.
Yeah, well, he has to wait for another 2 to 3 years. I know he's up for it next year, but he has to wait for a couple 2 to 3 years.
Wait a minute, because I'm confused.
No.
I thought
they have to make him wait for at least 2 to 3 years. That's what I'm trying to say. They have to.
You think because of the off the field issues they're gonna make him wait?
Absolutely. If you're gonna hold T.O. out because he said some shit on the sideline, excuse my language.
I know that, Champ,
but you're gonna hold him out. I'm not talking about you specifically.
Okay.
If you're gonna hold Terrell Owens out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame for damn near 3 years because he did sit-ups in his driveway. I got suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. And I was doing sit-ups in my driveway all because I wanted a new contract. And this blank goes in after that situation. My thing is, and the thing was, unlike, I hate to use this as an example, but I must. When you look at the difference between how the late great Kobe Bryant handled his case and how Ben Roethlisberger's handled his, it was pretty much day and night. Kobe never ran from that situation, even when he was asked about it. He never ran it. He answered every question. He answered it in accordance to what he felt like. He even brought up in his documentary before he died, The Muse. This was when he had his Achilles injury. The Muse. He even brought up in the documentary about how his wife, the Queen, Vanessa Bryant, she had a miscarriage because of that case, and he blamed himself because of it. When you really look at how he handled his situation when he was accused of that versus how Ben Roethlisberger handled it, and he was running away from it. We're not going to talk about football. We're not going to talk about anything. Guess what? It was a clear contrast of how they both handled it, and he was suspended for it. So
not just that, champ. Ben, with his situation, you heard it with Kobe's situation. After that incident, we didn't really hear any legal off the court issues with Kobe.
No, we did.
Ben, we heard Lake Tahoe, Nevada in 2008, and we also heard Millersville, Georgia in 2010. So Ben, we knew it was well documented. He had off the field issues. BRF, the only reason why I muted you because there was the noise in the background, not because of you or anything personally, is because there was too much noise from the background. So that's why I kind of muted you. I apologize for that.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, it's okay.
He had an incident when he was in college as well, to my knowledge.
Ben,
he had
and Ben, and let's not forget the motorcycle incident. Remember when Ben was operating a motorcycle with no helmet this was after when the Steelers won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, towards ACL. Like I said, he has a lot of incidents. He had an incident with, like I said, back in college. That's how come he ended up in Miami of Ohio.
Yeah.
He had that incident. So my thing is this: if they're gonna talk about, holding out T.O., then he better if you gonna hold me out for requesting a new contract.
But would you be surprised though if he was if he was voted in? I wouldn't be surprised, champ, because again, there's gonna be certain people in the media that are gonna like him, and plus, it is Pittsburgh.
Again, I understand that, but the thing is this: if
I understand
talk about character issue, I'm not talking about you.
I understand that. I know I'm not talking about you. I understand. To your point, yes, it is unfair because again, Terrell Owens, he had no off the field issues, no domestic violence, no SA accusations, none of that stuff. Do I think it's hypocritical for the NFL to put in Ben Roethlisberger into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, given the accusations? Absolutely. And that's why I get offended when people say that the media doesn't play a role. Of course they play a role. And Shannon Sharpe, remember, he was there in the Pro Football Hall of Fame room when Brett Favre's name was mentioned. And even though we agreed that Brett Favre should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we can't ignore Favre's issues. Favre did have had the Vicodin addiction. Now, again, I'm not mad at that because, again, we all understand addiction. We can emphasize with that. What we can emphasize was the situation in New York with Jen Sturger. Yeah. We can't emphasize how the fact Brett Favre in his last few years in Green Bay, he couldn't make up his mind whether he gonna play or he gonna retire or he gonna do all this other stuff. So with Ben, I understand to your point, Champ. If we're gonna hold everyone to that same standard, that should apply to Ben Roethlisberger. But the thing is, you always say, Champ, narrative. Don't be surprised if certain people in the media that probably would vote Ben in because of what he accomplished in Pittsburgh. And if you're judging Ben Roethlisberger on the field, then yes, he belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You can't deny it. Neither can BRF. Neither can anybody else. Now, do I think he's a first ballot? No. I think elites are for people that the first ballot goes for people who change the game, transcend it. You have to bring something unique compared to the rest of your contemporaries. I don't see Ben Roethlisberger as that. I see very good. But I do believe he should be in the Hall of Fame. But again, you factored off the field issues and you mentioned Terrell Owens. I mentioned Randy Moss, champ, and even Randy Moss even called out the voters of the Hall of Fame. And I'm proud that Randy Moss actually did that because he knows greatness when he sees it. And Randy Moss, I'm sorry, the reason why I bring up Randy Moss, and I am not in any way saying that Randy Moss does not belong in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What I'm saying is, compared to T.O., he had an easier path because of his involvement with media
Mm-hmm.
and working with Fox and working with ESPN. So, because of that, Randy Moss, in my opinion, had preferential treatment. And I feel like with Ben, he's going to get preferential treatment because since those off the field issues, he's cleaned up his reputation. We haven't heard anything since from Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, now if this were Antonio Brown, although we believe he should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, in the words of Vince McMahon, ain't no chance in hell. There's no chance in hell his ass is getting to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
He'll eventually get in there. He will
AB,
eventually. Yeah, he'll eventually get in there because look. Hey, I'm just gonna be real. They've let in guys with worse reputations than him. Remember, Bobby Lane, he wasn't a pastor at any church. Remember, Bullet Bob Hayes, he went to jail for a substantial amount of time. So there's a lot of guys who had a lot of off the field issues that basically was able to get into the Hall of Fame. We
I
had
get, I
we had
get
a
that.
lot of guys, but this is the social media era, so
That's
it's a
what I
little
was
bit
trying to.
different.
I was
But
trying to tell
you
you.
know,
You got to factor social media, and it's more memorable with social media. And they're gonna look at the situation with Tom Brady and how he left. Remember, champ, Tom Brady. If it were not for him, AB would not be in the NFL. He would not have been with Tampa. Hell, he even invited Tom Brady to live with him.
yeah, but
What
no,
person would you have AB live at your place?
he can't pitch a 10 outside in the damn yard, much less in my damn house. So that's just how it goes. He can't sit. He can't. You can't sit in a Kenmore box outside my home, much less in my damn one bedroom apartment. So no, you can't stay in here. So like I said, I believe eventually he'll make it in. We've seen a lot of guys with a lot more character issues, never to that extent where they quit on the field. I think that will be forever indelibly etched in the voters' mind that he quit on the field before he walked out. But I think eventually it'll get in. Now he gonna be damn near. Uh, I think he's
80?
gonna get the Kenny Stabler's treatment. Remember how they did Kenny Stabler? Although you can't write the history of the NFL without him, they waited till he was gone in order to induct him in. But by all accounts, he should have been in the Hall of Fame. But he's gonna get the Kenny Stabler treatment because people didn't like Kenny Stabler's demeanor. He wasn't the typical milk drinking quarterback. He was a little bit rough around the edges. But I think he's gonna get the Kenny Stabler treatment. I won't even call it the Kenny Stabler treatment. I call it the Oakland Raider treatment. Although he was a Steeler, he's gonna get the Oakland Raider treatment. He's not going to get the just do because you can't write the history of the NFL without Antonio. Antonio was one of the greatest during his time. He was on pay. And look, I wish he would have kept this act together because he was not a big receiver. He was only 5'10, 5'11 at best. And he was that guy. Well, it was him and Julio Jones. For the 2010s, it was him, Julio Jones, and Megatron.
Yeah, yes.
Those were the guys. So you can't write the history of the NFL without him. But at the same time, they rather people remember you in their own way than to put you in the Hall of Fame when you haven't, really, you know, conducted yourself with class and dignity. But by all accounts, those seasons that he had, He should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. But can't blame him if he don't put him in there.
BRF.
Honestly, I've been this Ben Roethlisberger slander as of late. I mean, I hate to say it's kind of justified, but it's kind of justified with like just you hear the story. I mean, Joey Porter coming out and telling the stories as far as like how he treated how he traded his teammates, and you heard about it, throwing the teammates under the bus. Like he had his own like radio show where he would go on there weekly and he'd have his platform to do that. Like, how are you if you're a player and a young player that? Because I think when James Washington was like a rookie with Pittsburgh, he made a bad play trying to catch a ball, and Ben Roethlisberger called him out on on his show like that week. Is like, man, what does stuff like that do to a person's like psyche? You're just going out there, you want to have a shot to play, get on the team. You want to have an opportunity to make plays like most of the other wide receivers, and then if your star quarterback is calling you out, that kind of like that deflates you as a man. That deflates you as a player, because it's like, how are you gonna go out? If the guy I need to get me the ball in order to produce, if he doesn't believe in me, then where do I go from here? Like, a lot of young guys would just take that, and you hope it wouldn't break them, but I mean, it would be a justified reason as far as like feeling why it would break them, because I mean, you're just out trying to make plays. As far as the Hall of Fame is concerned, Ben, like when you look at the nominees going into next year, I feel like the two locks, because I think PSP put it best when it's like you have to transcend your position. You have to you have to stand out. You have to be transcended at your position. If you look at the players that are going to be first year eligible, if you're using that criteria, there's two locks, and that's Adrian Peterson and Rob Gronkowski. Two locks. That's it. I don't think Ben Roethlisberger is a lock. But if you want to look at it like on the field as far as gameplay, he's as close to lock as you're gonna be without being a lock. When you look at the career and the passing.
Okay, it seems like BRF is having some technical difficulties.
Okay,
You good,
I'm back.
BRF?
I'm back. I'm
Okay,
back.
cool.
It's back. It's because I got my mic plugged in, but I'm good. It went out on me for a brief moment, but I'm back now.
Okay. But continue to your point, because you mentioned about the Pro Football Hall of Fame next year. The two first ballot locks are Adrian Peterson and Rob Gronkowski. Ben, I don't believe he'll
yes,
get
sir.
in. I don't believe he'll get in on the first ballot. If he had won a league
Mm-mm.
MVP or two, maybe. Look, Kurt Warner didn't even get on the first ballot, and he's been to 3 Super Bowls and he's won two league MVPs. Some people will take it for granted because he did play with the greatest show on turf in St. Louis with Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. Still shocking to me, Torrey Holt. Torrey Holt is still not even in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But
I think with Kurt Warner though, I think with his saving grace, as far as what ultimately what got him into the Hall of Fame, even though he had those years with St. Louis and all that talent around him, what got him into the Hall of Fame was what he did with the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh yeah, because he was the best quarterback that he had for Larry Fitzgerald.
Exactly. I feel like what he did with Arizona, with that squad, because I mean, granted, yeah, he had Larry Fitzgerald, but when you look at that offensive talent at Arizona outside of Larry Fitzgerald, it was okay, but it wasn't what he had with the Rams. You had Isaac Bruce on one side, you had Torrey Holt on the other side, you had peak Marshall Faulk behind you. So like what he had in Arizona was nothing compared to what he had with the Rams, and to be able to come out of
No, it was.
No, it wasn't.
You had
No, it wasn't.
You had
No, it wasn't.
no. You had Anquan Bolden, Larry Fitzgerald, Steve.
I am not putting Anquan Bolden on an Isaac Bruce Torrey Holt level. I am not.
Anquan Bolden's not a Hall of Famer.
I'm not saying he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's not Isaac Bruce Torrey Holt good. I am not going there. No. Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt was the undisputed, unquestioned best duo in the league at one point. I'm not putting Anquan, but he was good. But
Anquan
he's not on
and
their level.
Anquan,
He's
you
not
had
on their
two
level.
You had two All Pros in the form of Anquan Bolden and Larry Fitzgerald. I can't say
Anquan
that.
Bolden is not on Ivy Bruce and Torrijos level. He is not.
All right, fellas.
He's
Let's
not.
fellas. I think it's fair to say with Ben Roethlisberger, because again we got like 26 minutes left because I got to try to hurry up and cut these clips. But I think with Ben is look, he was a great football player during his time in Pittsburgh, but there's no doubt about it. He wasn't the greatest teammate, and certainly off the field, he didn't conduct himself as the model citizen. Those things are true with Ben Roethlisberger. Champ, do I think they're gonna make Ben Roethlisberger wait? I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see because you say, I mean, yeah, because if Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft didn't get in, and look, Bill Polian, in my opinion, he used his platform because of being around the Colts and how the Patriots dominated in the 2000s while he was the team general manager and president for the Colts. And also, he used to work for ESPN, so he knows them Hall of Fame voters pretty well. And again, you also mentioned the fact that he cheated as well. So, mm, if Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft didn't get in and they had to wait, why would it be any different with Ben Roethlisberger? So,
Because
but
the
again,
media found a way. The media found a way to get him in. But I'm with you. I don't think he'll get in because I think there are other guys that aren't in that I think that are like you. There are too many guys that hasn't got in that has a really good case as far as why it wouldn't shock me if Ben Roethlisberger didn't get in. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see until next year. You just never know with this media and how they like to vote.
at this point, we don't even know what a Hall of Famer is, and that's a damn shame. But,
That's
fellas,
all
we
I'm
got
saying.
like 24 minutes left. Favorite Jennifer Lopez moment. Now, it doesn't have to be singer, it could be actress, any moment in her career. Without a question, without a doubt in my mind, that Grammys dress.
No, don't talk about.
The Grammys dress. Regardless of who she was dating with at the time, a very certain infamous figure, but damn, she know how to work that dress. I love J Lo from the track. No, I'm sorry, not her. From her album on the 6th. If You Had My Love, Waiting for Tonight. Love Jennifer Lopez's energy, her dancing. Obviously, in my opinion, she was a better actress than she was as a singer. How she played the movie Selena. I mean, the physique, the dancing, and then of course her in Living Color. I also like the movie in which she starred in with Jack with the late great Robin Williams. So I love that. Also loved the movie with her and Matthew McConaughey. And J Lo still, even at 56, finer than most of these women our age. That's undeniable. That's
even though
not
she,
a knock. That's
even though
not
she
an
collect,
opinion. That's a
even
fact. I mean,
even though
her,
she collecting
Salma
wedding rings
Hayek.
like Thanos.
Psh,
Hey,
listen, she fine as hell. There's her and listen, her and Salma Hayek. You cannot argue them women are fine as hell, even at their
Oh
age.
no! Oh no! 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 Those are two of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. It's just that J Lo, she just she collecting rings like Thanos collecting, collecting collecting
boy,
them
Big used to
crystals. You
look
know what
so
I'm
damn
saying?
stressed out when he was around her ass.
One one snap and just poof.
Listen, if we criticize, hey, listen, if Cardi B gets a lot of credit for being with Offset and Stephon Diggs and all them other men, what is J Lo?
I mean, at least she
They
married
collecting
the
two
dude.
different. They
I
she
mean,
gonna but she gonna I just they gonna be collecting two different things, a bunch of two different things though. So
like I said, at least she had enough sense to get married or either engaged. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't
But J,
all of this. It
but
wasn't.
J
I
Lo,
mean, regardless if you fail, you try to do it. It's a difference between trying to do it right and failing, than out here trying to,
mhm.
than out here fucking up fast and picking up speed and then failing that way. But I'll give her credit. At least she tried to do it the right way. I'm
but
trying to
This
J
do
is
it.
Lo,
true.
I love, I just love her style, her personality, her energy. On the 6th, that's like my favorite album from her. I love the Get Right song. I love her in the collab with her and Ja Rule, the Murder Inc. I'm Real remix.
That's a good one.
Yes. But and her smile. I mean, always had a big crush on Jennifer Lopez growing up as a kid. Love Jennifer Lopez. So whoever wants to go, but make it real short and quick because we got like 21 minutes left.
Hey guys, hey, make sure, hey, y'all, whatever network, go ahead and sign PSP to this big old contract, bro, so he can get Jennifer Lopez, bro. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, man. I would love to see that, bro. I would be cheering from the stand. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead, sign him to that big contract. And J Lo, give my guy just one shot. Just one shot. I guarantee you, he can make you happy, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Why don't you say that with making a stallion?
So hey, no, she's taking right about now. You know, J Lo single, but you know she taking. Don't break up happy homes, but don't break up happy
Well, there's
homes.
Lotto for you.
Huh?
Lotto.
Yeah, I can beat up 21 happy home. You know, I can beat him up. I can beat him up. I mean, he only gets real big. You know, you better break a weapon. That way you got a chance. So you better make a run. So hey. I didn't win 29 fights in my amateur career for no reason. Trust me. Trust me.
What's your
Hey,
favorite big moment from J Lo Big?
hey, wearing that dress, number one, man. That was an epical dress. That was a lovely dress. That is something that I will never forget. That was me. And that, I was 12 years old when I saw her wear that damn dress. And I ain't never forget it. You know, that's one of the moments that's definitely etched in your mind. You remember the first time you eat pizza. You remember the first time you eat chocolate. You remember the first time you taste ice cream. I will never forget the day I saw her wear that dress. My damn eyes got this big. So I will never forget that. I'm real to your point was good. Love don't cost a thing was good. Regardless of your opinion, man, seeing her and the other guy, that was hip hop's first pop power couple, man. That was the first power couple that I saw. Before Beyonce and Jay, it was her, the other guy. Won't say no names at this point, you know. But to not acknowledge that is doing it justice. But hey, you know, she had a hell of a career. I love the role in Enough. I think she brought a lot to the forefront when doing that movie. I like the fact that she played that role to the T. She brought a lot of awareness to a lot of the things that we're seeing today. Wendy Planner was real, real good. When you think about, I like the fact that she was in the movie Anaconda with her and Ice Cube. That was a good movie. And you know, the Hustlers series. Not to mention Money Train. Remember Money Train with her and Wesley Snipes?
Yeah, I remember that Woody Harrelson. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that
Joe
was
Pesci.
yeah, that was good, man. She is a hell of an actor. She's a good singer. I will say that. And you know, look, when you look that good, shit, you can't help but to succeed. But you know, um, hey, guys, give my guy a contract so he can shoot his shot, bro. Give my guy a contract.
BRF.
Um, well, definitely, yeah, definitely for me, better actress. I definitely enjoyed. She made good music. I mean, I like some of her songs. Like yeah. If you have my love, love don't cost a thing. Yeah. All my all my life. The song with her and
LL
LL,
Cool J. Yeah.
LL Cool J. That was a really good song. Of course, yeah. Of course the song. Yeah, of course I'm real with Jaw. Definitely one of her biggest ones. But yeah, for me, it's her movie performances for me that stand out a little more. Yeah, she because she had range, because like she could do a movie. She could do movies like The Wedding Planner or Made in Manhattan, and then she could bust out and do something like The Cell with Vincent D'Onofrio. She could bust out a movie like that, sci-fi thriller. Like she could do like the kind of thrillers like Anaconda, action movie like Money Train. And but yeah, I'm a champ though. My favorite J Lo movie is Enough, and not just from her performance was I feel like Enough. was like her like most powerful like kind of performance that really like drew you in, and it's because of the subject that it was touching. You know, with it
Yeah.
touching DV and how it hit, like it just resonated with so many women and so many victims that have been affected by that, and just kind of, you know, really being in being a beacon, being a beacon for a lot of those victims, and just kind of like uplifting and just kind of telling their stories, like without even being in in their own situations. I mean, it was such a powerful movie, and such a good movie, and she played her part so well, and it was just a and I mean and I'm tr- I'm trying my hardest to actually analyze the movie and just forget the fact of how she had sculpted herself for that role, because that is probably like the best, like in one of her movies, like I've seen her look in terms of like the physical aspect, just how she looked and the way she toned and sculpted her body for that movie. Like it was just like it was hard. It was hard not to look at her in that movie, as good as she looked in that movie. But it was like she acted it so well. She played her part so well. Um, but yeah, like and of course you can't talk about J Lo without talking about In Living Color and being part of the Fly Girls, and just like the just kind of like the inspiration that I know she was for a lot of young women that wanted to dance and wanted to do, you know, wanted to get in that profession like that. And just,
And
I
Selena.
think, yeah, you know what? I'm still, she should, I'm sorry, Selena should still be here. And
Yes.
it's a shame. She should still be here. And just seeing the real Selena, and just seeing like clips of like her performances, and just seeing how, even though she was for so many people, like she was for the Latin culture, had, you know, us in the black community, we adored her, she adored us. So I mean, it's like it's just J Lo, bringing that role to life. I feel like not only did her some good, but I honestly think it did her family good. Just really kind of letting the world see who she was, not just in the performances, but in the real world, in real life, outside of the performance, outside of performing arts. And just it was definitely it was a really just like I said, that movie, to me, as good as it was, it hurts from the standpoint that it shouldn't, that biopic shouldn't have been done so soon. She should still be here. But shout out to J Lo for playing that role so well, so beautifully. Um, so but yeah, like I think she's she's definitely one of the greater performer entertainers of our time, and it's just 56, still going with the best of them. I think right now, I think she's doing I think she's got a Vegas residency right now. She's on tour or something like that. I think she's got a I think she's got a Vegas residency right now. So she's performing at them. She's performing right now. But yeah, shout out to J Lo. Like, man, definitely one of the biggest Hollywood crushes I've ever had as well. So the fact that she's 56 and probably really ain't aged since like her Fly Girl days, I think it's just a testament to her. So shout out to J Lo.
All right. Fellas, we got like a little over 10 minutes. Let's try to finish this last one. Miguel. Favorite Miguel track. There's, even though it wasn't really his song, J. Cole, Power Trip,
Mhm.
Mm,
Quickie,
mm.
underrated track, Quickie, Let My Love Adorn You, Skywalker featuring Travis Scott, and he was featured in Wale's song. We living in a fantasy. Tell
Lotus Flower
me.
Bomb.
Flows
Yeah,
Firebomb. Love that
album.
one.
Mm.
Has a really smooth voice. Love Miguel's music. He's definitely great with them features with him and J. Coleman and but Let My Love Adorn You. That's a hot one.
Yeah. I like that song too. That was a cool. I think the funniest Miguel moment when he jumped over that damn what's the name on the VN names and leg dropped and Hogan leg dropped that damn lady. That was the funniest. Like damn, you ain't got no ups like that, Miguel. Come on, man.
Mhm.
I think that was the funniest thing ever, man. He just jumped over that damn thing and did. I think he underestimated himself because you wasn't super fond of Jimmy Snooker when you did that. So yeah, I think the movie Superfly, RAN. I think that one was good. Uh, Vixen, Sure Thing.
Hmm.
That song holds up to this day, man. If you, I ain't gonna go there. But yeah, if you ever wanna, get on your girl good side, bring her a big old ass bouquet of flowers. You gotta have like 50 roses in there, and play that song while y'all driving in the car, man. Put the top down so the blades can feel the wind. By the way, but
Yeah.
yeah, see, he backing me up on it. I like that. But Power Trip was good, man. Power Trip was good, man, because everybody could relate to that. So that was a good one, man. Do you like do you like drugs? Me too. Me too. In his brief period, man, he reminded me of a combination of kind of like Prince and Telvin Campbell because he was edgy, but at the same time, he was like his voice was so unique that you just
I
couldn't.
like that. I like that.
So he reminded me of that mixture between being good and wholesome and just being like real edgy at that. That's like he reminds me of kind of like a cross between Tevin Campbell and Prince, if you really want me to be honest with you. You put them together, you would have got Miguel. Yeah, I used to love the hairstyle too, bro. I wish I could grow my shit like that. That wouldn't
Yeah.
look good, but on me personally. But I love the hairstyle. I love the outfits. I love the music videos. I think Quickie was the best one. I like the bridge part of that song. The bridge part of that song was probably the best part of the song where he said, "Doc on this wood get rocked by this thunder." That was
Mhm.
Mm.
so that was the best part. Doc on this wood get rocked by this
Oh, I
thunder.
thought you were gonna say the part from Skywalker. I knew she vegan, but she want that steak tonight.
Yeah, hey man, look, they don't want beef. They vegetarians, so it is what it is. But But I say that, man. I think my most favorite song got to be Quickie because like I said, the bridge knock on this wood, get rocked by this thunder. That was crazy. You're not gonna get a better bridge than that.
BRF.
Oh man, let me tell you something. When Miguel came out, boy, I rocked with him so heavy. Like his R&B style just kind of fit perfectly as far as like the type of music I listen to. I rock with him heavy. Like my favorite song is Sure Thing, but I mean, there's Quickie, there's Coffee. If you haven't heard Coffee, you should check that out.
That's a
Particularly
good
the unedited
song.
version. Particularly the unedited version, you should definitely listen to that. Is a good one. Um, How many drinks? Um, yeah, I love that song. Uh, him and J. Cole are almost assured a banger when they get on the same track because he did the feature with J. Cole on Power Trip, and then J. Cole gave him the feature with Come Through and Chill. Amazing song. Um, All I Want Is You. Um, yeah, Skywalker. Man, just the dude. The I mean, just like in the amount of time that he was around and the albums that he was able to put out to give us so many good songs in just a limited number of albums is just a testament to how good he was. So, but yeah, my all-time favorite is probably Sure Thing. But dude, I can probably make like a full CD of just like Miguel's like best songs and just ride out with it. Just going on road trip and just ride it out. Like man was just that talented, man. Shout out Miguel, man. He's one of my favorite singers of all time.
Yeah, man. But fellas, that concludes the rest of the Sports PSP podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Sports PSP podcast. Please go check it out every Friday nights, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. Also, go check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and also on Spotify. I've also posted some episodes on Spotify, so please go check us out. BRF, any follow words and tell them where to follow you at.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to share the spotlight with you two fine gentlemen. Definitely always a pleasure to get on here, talk sports, talk life, talk entertainment, everything with y'all. Um, BRS Sports is the TikTok handle. If you want to hit the link tree, it's in the bio of my TikTok, my Facebook, my IG, my Twitter/X. I have a Discord community if you want to hop in there as well and join up and talk with me. Always a pleasure. Baseball season rolling up. I'm definitely going to start really rolling out the baseball content coming up. Be ready this Sunday. UGSP. We're gonna give it to them. We're gonna give it to them like me and Flash know how to do it. So be ready for that this Sunday. Baseball special. Be ready. It's gonna be fun. But hey, always a pleasure to get on here and talk with y'all fellas. Always a pleasure. Love sharing the stage with y'all. Topic not thought about is a topic not thought about.
Big fella.
Thank you, PSP, for allowing me to be on your platform, man. As always, man. Always a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor, and I never take for granted that. BRF, always a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to share the stage with you. I cannot wait. Sunday's like my day off on the show. 'Cause the only thing I'm gonna do is just press them keys while they talking, and I'm gonna listen to him and Flash cook all day long. I am on that show as a fan this week for baseball previews. Uh, Hey, 4-day weekend, Monday's President's Day. Don't act up. They got some place to put you if you do. Um, Happy Valentine's Day. Been saying this all
Mm-hmm.
week. I'm gonna say this in closing. Hey, y'all know how I feel about you guys. Thank y'all for everything. Treat her right on Valentine's Day. Put emphasis on the EAT.
I swear, Chance Fantasy one day is to have a threesome with Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion.
Hey man, you had your pipe bombs at the end. I need to get one out. I need to get one out. It took him a second to get it too.
If I had another mic, I'd have been like, "Pop, that's it."
Also, one last quick shout out to two favorite people. Shout out to Mama PSP. Thank you for everything that you do for me. And of course, another woman who D loves, the great D. Shout out to her. And yes, she'll be back, and she's probably thinking about Champ right now, kind of like that pastor who probably saying,
Don't
"Good
do that.
evening, due
Don't
to
do
inclement
that.
weather, church tomorrow will be preached."
Get out the camera.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we know you went to church. We know you went to church. Church in the bedroom.
We're
You
trying not to we're trying not to sin in the Lord's world. So let's not do that.
that reverend went from Bible study to Big Booty Judy. Okay,
Yeah,
that's all you can.
yeah. Went from Bible study to booty talk. Yeah, basically.
And on that note, we're gonna end off the Sports PSP podcast. Everyone enjoy the rest of y'all weekend, and we is out.